Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 18 of History's Greatest Idiots, the show where we take you back through all of human history and bring you examples of absolute incredible human stupidity so that you can learn lessons from other people's mistakes and never repeat them again. But who are we kidding? We're human. We like making mistakes, and sometimes it informs our decision making. So I know what you're wondering. Where's the usual intro? Where's Derek? Where's everything that's going on? So we had every intention of delivering on that promise of bringing you a brand new episode that we were supposed to do last time. And life kind of got in the way. So let me explain what happened. So last time we put out a special greatest hits episode of the greatest musician idiots in human history. And we promised that we would have an original episode next time round. And we had every intention of delivering on that promise. Unfortunately, last weekend, so I'm recording this now on the 17th of August, last weekend, myself and Derek tried to record the episode as normal, and we had catastrophic technical failures. And it was very frustrating, actually, because, we'd spent a lot of time preparing for that episode. I had the thumbnails ready to go. My script was all prepared, obviously, because it was a week delayed. And we just could not get the equipment and the internet to play ball, unfortunately. It was a very frustrating hour, although I did laugh quite a lot because me and Derek were doing kind of mimes back at each other and having to communicate through video call through our phones. And ultimately, we made the decision that we just couldn't record because, it was getting late in UK time, and I was literally kind of going away for a holiday the next day. So I had to kind of draw it to a close. So I had every intention of recording it, editing it, uploading it, all of that. None of that happened, and I'm so angry because we've promised you something and we can't deliver. However, as a result, I have put together another greatest hits episode, and I promise next week we'll get our act together. Also, the reason we couldn't record this weekend is because just as Derek has gone away on holiday as well with his family. He had some commitments. I had some commitments as well, and our calendars just didn't really line up. So unfortunately, we can't record anything this week. So it's going to be another greatest hits episode. This time, it's going to be part one of a potential two-parter on Hollywood icons. So people in the acting world, comedy world, things like that, people who have been involved in major motion pictures. And I'm going to put together an episode for you on those people. We are so sorry that we can't bring you an episode yet again, but I promise it's nothing serious. It's just sometimes life gets in the way, technical issues happen, people's plans don't line up. Usually, we're really super prepared for this, but there's been so much happening in the last few weeks that it's been very difficult to avoid some of these changes. So I just want to apologise to you, our lovely viewers, and also our wonderful patrons, specifically Jesse Christ, Kimberly, Andrew Zavara, Dilly Bob, Silent Crisis, Carrion, Suzanne, and Toasterzoid. I just want to thank you all for sticking by us. If you would like to contribute to our Patreon, please go to patreon.com/History's Greatest Idiots, where you will get a welcome gift. You will also get updates on our life outside of this podcast, stuff that we don't post on social media, like my recent holiday and various pictures of beautiful dogs and scenery, historic sites, things like that. You'll also get an annual gift when you stay with us for a year or 2 years. And also, you will have access to exclusive recordings every month, which we do very regularly. In fact, next week is going to be a busy one because we're going to record the episode that we've been trying to record for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll also record the Patreon exclusive recording, which will probably be about an hour and a half, something like that. We like to give our patrons a lot of content exclusively to them. So that'll be happening. Until then, you can also follow us on Instagram, by the way. I should point this out. At History's Greatest Idiots on Instagram. And also, we're available on YouTube at History's Greatest Idiots. Also, if you go on Spotify, and you can view our videos there. They're all there from the recent video recordings that we could upload when Spotify introduced that. And also, we get paid way more, as in we actually get paid for the videos that are viewed on Spotify over YouTube. So if you please want to go and follow us on Spotify, that would be great. It really helps us a lot. I'm so sorry about all this. We will be back with a proper episode next time round. However, until then, please enjoy this exclusive Greatest Hits episode of Hollywood's Greatest Idiots. And I promise there's a mixed bunch here. There's a classic Hollywood icon. There's a kind of a comedian a comedic actor who kind of went off the rails a little bit. And then there's a legendary Saturday Night Live performer who also has an incredible legacy in films, even though he wasn't around too long until he sadly passed away in his early 30s, unfortunately. So please stick around for that part of the episode, and I promise we'll be back on track soon. Thank you all so much for your patience, and we will see you all again very soon. For now, enjoy this Greatest Hits episode, Hollywood's Greatest Idiots. From someone who experienced a really catastrophic downfall in their career to someone whose decline is... It's so weird. It's almost the stuff of fiction. I swear to God, I've never seen anything as crazy as this.
It's as weird as him.
It's as weird as some of the performances he's given, because like you watch some of the Randy Quaid performances and you're like, oh, this guy is really funny. He looks kind of crazy. He's fucking crazy. He really is.
My favorite is ID4.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's classic. Yeah, I do like that one as well. So I'm going to start by making you laugh. Rudy Quaid.
Goodness.
Triple
Good grief,
R.
goodness golly.
Yes. Was born in Houston, Texas, to Juanita Bonadale Nee Jordan, a real estate agent, and William Rudy Quaid, who passed away in 1987, quite young. He was 64. An electrician. Yeah, really young. Quaid has English, Scottish, Irish, and Cajun ancestry. I'm not even sure why that's relevant. Why? Why do we need to know that? Through his father, Quaid is a first cousin, twice removed, of cowboy performer Gene Autry.
Gene Autry?
Autry, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right on.
I don't know who that is. I think I've heard the name.
Famous cowboy singer.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, he's related to Gene Autry, whatever. Oak Tree. Randy Quaid grew up in Bel Air, not that Bel Air, Texas, a small city surrounded by Houston, and in Southwest Houston. So it says and in Southwest Houston. Okay, so he moved. He's the older brother of the much more successful and entirely more normal Dennis Quaid.
There you go.
There you go. Dennis has done some really interesting films in his career that they've probably reached higher levels than I'd say some of Randy's films, but Randy's been in some big roles as well. So they've
Dennis
both
Quaid was in The Rookie, right?
Yeah, he's in The Rookie. He did
my wife's favorite movie.
Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. He did Inner Space, which was a big deal back in the 80s. He was married to Meg Ryan. He was in the G.I. Joe films. Amazing.
I haven't seen any of them.
They're fine. They're like turn your brain off, watch some explosions films. So yeah, he's done a few things, and he's kind of been consistently working in Hollywood for like 40 something years. So good on you, Dennis Quaid. His Randy Quaid, a little bit more known for his comedy. We'll get to that in a bit. So in high school, he took a class in drama on a whim. And although he didn't expect he would enjoy the lectures, after the third day, he was completely captivated by the course and decided to make acting his professional goal, which that's both a troublingly quick decision and also a typical thought process of a teenager at the time.
Love at first lecture?
Yeah. Love at first. Oh, how I like Shakespearean quote, like how I knew him, Horatio. Like, yeah, it's kind of a moment where a kid makes a decision about their entire future and you fully expect them to change their mind in a year or something. But yeah, he stuck with it. And that kind of making a decision on a whim like a teenager and then sticking to it is something he's never really grown out of. And you'll see that in the rest of his life. Oh yeah, he has trouble disseminating reality sometimes. He continued studying acting in the University of Houston. During one course, his teacher sent him to audition for Peter Bogdanovich, who was famous documentary and filmmaker. Peter Bogdanovich, who was casting for The Last Picture Show. and Quaid won the role and it became his debut film. Huge break right there. The Last Picture Show is considered a masterpiece. It's a beautiful film, and it's a real like uplifting kind of thing. I would recommend The Last Picture Show to anyone. It's brilliant, and that was his first role.
See, I feel like I've heard it, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen it. I don't think so. I'm
No,
gonna have to check that out.
It's not something that's like regularly put on TV or really talked about, but like filmmakers like Spielberg and people like that, they like hold it in really high regard because Peter von Danovich, like, it was his magnum opus. Like, this was his absolute baby. So, but he won the role, and it was a hugely successful film, and was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. And his first role, a comedy actor, his first role was a serious dramatic role. Also, he was in other Peter Bogdanovich films, including What's Up, Doc and Paper Moon. Quaid's first major critically acclaimed role was in The Last Detail, 1973. He played Larry Meadows, a young United States Navy sailor on his way to serve a harsh sentence for petty theft. Jack Nicholson starred as a sailor assigned to transport him to prison. Quaid was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor, and a Motion Picture and a BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. So early on, he's getting huge recognition. He's 23 years old.
That's good stuff. I haven't really followed any of the early stuff at all, so this is all new to me.
I know. I was as shocked as you are. I did not remember him from The Last Picture Show, but then again, if you're not looking for Randy Quaid, you probably don't see Randy Quaid, right? You know, you're like, oh, okay, it's The Last Picture
But once
Show.
you see him everywhere.
Yeah, once you see this 6'5" terrifying man, you see him everywhere. And so, yeah, he's kind of making a name for himself as a serious dramatic actor at this point, but like kind of quirky dramatic actor, you know. In 1976, he appeared opposite Marlon Brando in The Missouri Breaks. And also in 1978, Quaid had a supporting role in the Alan Parker drama Midnight Express, which is a fucking great film. Go and watch it. It's awesome.
You know what? I'm gonna have to start taking notes here.
Yeah. The Midnight Express is about Americans and an Englishman imprisoned in Turkey. It's really good. I'd recommend it as well. Quaid appeared opposite Charles Bronson in the 1975 action film of a Mexican prison escape called Breakout, based on actual events. So Quaid was also the lead in the comedy Martians Go Home. And yeah, I think that was like a kind of a camp cult pulpy thing. And Cold Dog Soup, and played the King of Spain in Goya's Ghosts. So loads of cult film names there. So he's doing prestige roles. He's doing cult films. He's like really building a reputation for himself at this point.
He's showing range already, huh?
Massive range. It's really impressive, actually, this early part of his career. In 1987, he won a Golden Globe and was nominated for an Emmy for his portrayal of President Lyndon Johnson in LBJ the Early Years. We talked about him, yeah. And Randy said that he'd wanted to play Johnson since becoming an actor. And actually, it makes sense because he's from Houston. He's a big dude. LBJ was a big dude as well. So physically, it works perfectly. I responded to him and his wants and needs in a way I've never done with any other characters. That means he likes whipping his dick out, I guess, and being an arsehole to everyone around him. Quaid also
wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah, wearing a cowboy hat in the bath while you're naked with everyone around you. Quaid also tried to portray what he learned were Johnson's political attitude. He was on the side of the people. He did a lot for racial equality, which is true. He really did. Did he also have a nickname for his penis? Possibly he did. Toastazoid. As back to Randy Quaid talking about LBJ, he had the ability to look at both sides of an issue and bring two opposing sides together. He was a man of great heart and compassion. He thought he could handle the Viet Cong the way he handled the people of Texas. He couldn't.
Not the same thing.
No, yes, different. He thought he could reason with them, but he had no understanding of them or their cultures. What do you mean you don't like rodeos and barbecues? What the fucking hell is wrong with you? Now stare at my penis. Isn't it majestic?
Jesus.
That's my LBJ.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. I just want to keep that quote at the back of your mind because he's talking about LBJ as an interesting character. He's talking about how he has the ability to see both sides of a point of view. He did a lot for racial equality. And he tried with the Viet Cong, but ultimately wasn't successful. So Randy Quaid is giving a really good summation of LBJ there. Mm-hmm. And he's not like lionizing him. He's like showing the bad with the good and trying to bring that out in the character's portrayal, which I really like. It shows that he's got an understanding of where LBJ did good and did bad and failed. And that as an actor is really good. But also it shows that he's attached to reality at this point in his life, which is going to be important. And then drugs. In 1992, he played the monster in Frankenstein. Again, really good casting because he's so tall and bulky. Opposite Patrick Bergin as Victor Frankenstein. Quaid said, I wanted to play the monster not just as a monster, but a disfigured man. I wanted to emphasize the human qualities. He is basically struggling for equal rights. He wants anything any man would want. I get that he's trying to go for that type of portrayal, but that's like every fucking portrayal of Frankenstein over the last 40 years. Like, I want to bring out the humanity in the monster. Point of it. I know. It's like that's where the story comes from. Although in the book, I think Frankenstein kills a child. Anyway, never mind. So Quaid had starring roles. This is the big kind of breakout year for certainly our generation anyway. Quaid had starring roles in the 1996 cult classic comedy Kingpin.
Oh, yeah.
Where he played the Amish bowler Ishmael, as well as a role as, by the way, Kingpin is fucking brilliant.
That one's a good one. I seen that one.
Yeah, that's really good. With Bill Murray, with his like massive comb over, which just flies everywhere. It's just brilliant. As well as a role as a pilot in the blockbuster science fiction film Independence Day, released the same year. 1996 was Randy Quaid's year. And he's 23, 24, 25 years into his career at this point. So he's like pushing 50, which is
so he's finally getting
like the paychecks. You know, like he's done the prestige stuff. He's established himself, nominated for an Oscar, and he's now getting like big bucks to star in these like quite good comedies, get millions and millions of dollars. He previously starred in Quick Change with Bill Murray in 1990. Quaid also appeared in 4 of the 7. You remember
Quick Change is a bank robbery movie, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah. With the clown?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's the one. Bill Murray's brilliant in that. He's the most miserable clown you've ever seen in your life. Quaid also appeared in 4 of the 7 National Lampoon's Vacation film series as Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Jovial redneck relative.
That one's my favorite character.
That's a really great character. Jovial redneck relative through marriage to Beverly D'Angelo, wife of Chevy Chase's Clark Griswold. He's amazing in that role as Cousin Eddie. The character is insane, completely fucking insane, and he plays it completely straight the entire time. At no point you're like, oh, he's hamming it up, he's chewing the scenery. No, he is that character, the guy with a metal plate in his fucking head, and maybe he's like constantly banging on it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is normal now. And yeah, it's so funny because he plays it straight. You're like, I believe that this man is a crazed redneck who takes himself completely seriously, and it's a really good performance as a comedy actor. And this is a really interesting switch as well. Shortly after appearing in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the 3rd installment of the series, Quaid was featured in Days of Thunder as NASCAR owner and successful car salesman Tim Dalland, a determined businessman who expects his team to be top-notch for fans and sponsors. Again, a really good, like, serious, dramatic role, right?
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, me too. I think, like, I was like, and then you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, there he is, and you can picture it in your mind. It's so crazy. And like, so he goes from the National Lampoon stuff to like a serious Tom Cruise vehicle where he's like
Right.
playing like quite a hard-nosed character. Great range.
Quickly,
So
too.
yeah. Sorry,
Oh, man.
I lost my place.
You're looking
Quaid
at the
was
nickname for his penis thing and laughing, aren't you? That's what I was doing.
That's why I lost my place. Yeah, maybe he did. Quaid was given the lead role in the Vacation spin-off, a made-for-TV film, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure.
Oh, boy. I did not see that one.
No, I don't think anyone saw that one. That's 2003, which marks his final appearance in the franchise to date. He had a pivotal supporting role in Brokeback Mountain as rancher Joe Aguirre, something like that. Yeah,
I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, Brokeback Mountain is amazing, and again, like it won like 7, 8 Oscars, something like that.
That's what I heard. I just never got around to it.
Yeah, it's really good. I can't recommend that enough. But again, Randy Quaid, not Dennis Quaid, pivoting to a serious dramatic role
Right.
in an Oscar steam engine.
That was a heavy movie too, right?
It was a heavy movie. Yeah, it dealt with issues that Hollywood wasn't really quite ready to confront at the time. But yeah, man, it was huge. Quaid had a co-starring role in the Canadian independent comedy Real Time in 2008, which opened the 2008 Slam Dance Film Festival. What the fuck is a slam dance?
Isn't it, that's where it's like moshing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's where you throw your fucking fists around.
Was it a movie about punk rock?
No. It's an independent comedy. I've never heard of that. I think his career's on the wane at this point. And here's why. His acclaimed performance earned him a Vancouver Film Critics Circle Award. Ooh, you were really good, eh?
Here's a circle.
Here's a little plaque. Here you go. Following his work in the direct-to-video comedy Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach. Oof.
Wow.
Man, this is a slide.
Trying to bite on that dodgeball movie?
Yeah, totally. Quaid's legal troubles prevented him from working for almost a decade. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, boy.
Quaid was not asked to reprise his role of Cousin Eddie in Vacation 2015, which is the one with Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jennifer Aniston. Although the character was verbally referenced, he returned to perform with Rob Margoli's weight loss comedy about all you can eat, which premiered at the Soho International Film Festival in June 2018 after the film's September screening at the Northeast Film Festival. Quaid was nominated for their award for Best Supporting Actor in a Feature Film. That's kind of where we leave his acting career at this point, because it's like he's back to doing really cheap independent films.
Yeah, stuff nobody's heard of.
Yeah, and no one's really ever going to see, but, he's making a living. Now let's get to he's left his part-time career as an actor behind. I want to talk about his full-time career as a lunatic now.
Okay.
After 2016, Quaid became an outspoken supporter of Donald Trump and believed the outcome of the 2020 election was widespread fraud. 3 weeks
Tyson supported Trump too.
Oh, fuck me.
I just didn't put that in there.
I didn't even realize it's the Trump episode by proxy. 3 weeks after the election, Trump, on his Twitter account, thanked Randy Quaid for agreeing with his claim. I bet he cried when he got that. His fury.
Was that a quote from Trump? Because Trump thinks everybody cries when he acknowledges him.
Yeah. Thank you, Randy Quaid. That's so weird. In 2006, Quaid, who acted in Brokeback Mountain, sued the producers for misrepresenting the film as a low-budget art house film with no prospect of making money. Yes, a low-budget art house film starring Heath Ledger and Anne Hathaway and what's his name, Jake Gyllenhaal. That's
kind of the peak of all of them.
Exactly. Like, this is just before The Dark Knight. Like, definitely a low-budget film. Come on, Randy, wake the fuck up. He sued them for misrepresenting the film as a low-budget art house film with no prospect of making money in order to secure Quaid's professional acting services at below market rates. That's his thing. I think he needs to get a better agent for a start. But also, this is a prestige film. And I'm not a fucking professional actor, but this is how it works. You use the good press from your performance in this prestige film that wins a fuckload of Oscars
to get yourself a higher paying role in some schlock like Independence Day or whatever it is.
Right.
It's called the Ben Affleck strategy, and it's worked for him for decades. You do the shit film, then you do the art house film to get that reputation back, and then you do the shit film for $7 million, and then you do the art house film, and then you do an espresso advert in Europe for $10 million or whatever. So,
Well, if it's the Ben Affleck effect, then
yeah,
which one was Air? Because I thought that was a pretty good film.
that was really good. I loved it.
I don't know that he was necessarily great in it.
No.
But, I mean, he just seems like Ben Affleck with a perm.
Yeah. I really like Air. I guess that's kind of midway because it'll have Amazon money behind it, so he'll probably get like the prestige and the money for that one. So it's not like he's doing a Kevin Smith comedy or like Affleck, you were the bomb in Phantoms, man. None of that. But yeah, Randy Quaid not kind of understanding how Hollywood worked there. Anyway, back to this insanity. In 2009, Quaid and his wife were arrested for allegedly defrauding an innkeeper in Santa Barbara by using an invalid credit card to pay a $10,000 bill. Who runs up a $10,000 bill in an inn?
How much was the room?
I know. Like, even a presidential suite's like $5,000 a night. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, man.
And it's an inn in Santa Barbara. It's not fucking, what? Hilton in Beverly Hills? I don't know.
Yeah.
The two were released on bail that evening and subsequently paid most of the bill. Most of the bill. However, they repeatedly failed to appear in court and warrants were issued for their arrest. They eventually appeared in court the following year, where the case was dismissed against Quaid for a lack of evidence. His wife, Evie, pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor count of fraud and was placed on probation for 3 years in addition to having to spend 240 hours of community service. Did he sell his wife out? Because he didn't get
seems
shit.
like a little bit. Seems like, yeah. You take a plea deal? Come on, it's only a misdemeanor. I'm going to take the deal, babe.
I'll take the deal, babe. I'm fighting for my rights. Yeah, you get community service. They probably turned the in into an out. That's very good, Toasted. I like that. They probably did go mad. Given what we're about to hear about them, that wouldn't surprise me, actually. In September 2010, Quaid and his wife, again, were charged with burglary after they spent 5 days occupying the guest house in a vacant home they once owned in Santa Barbara. They broke into their foreclosed
Were they high
house.
and lost?
Sorry,
just
what?
Thought they forgot. I said, were they high and lost? Thought maybe they forgot their keys?
I think they were just squatting.
Oh,
At this point, they just like, no one will see. It's the pool house. We'll stay there. And the Quaids claimed the home was wrongfully transferred to a third party by the use of a forged signature. Okay.
Like in Pain and Gain?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, we'll copy that. That works, I guess. Warrants for their arrest were issued after they failed to appear in court again, and as a result, they also forfeited their bail. In October 2010, Quaid and his wife moved to Vancouver, Canada, where they sought asylum protections under the Canadian Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, stating that they feared for their lives in the United States. Help us, we don't want to pay our bills or go to prison, is essentially what they're doing here.
That's not a reason for asylum.
That's not no. There are actual asylum seekers who are in real peril, and you're like, oh my God, I fell asleep in my pool house and now I'm on the run.
Yeah, because I didn't pay a bill.
Yeah.
And
it's not my house anymore.
Weird.
Yeah. Border authorities arrested the couple for their outstanding warrants in the US. After they were granted bail, Quaid gave a press conference, and later the couple's asylum seeker story was detailed in an article by Vanity Fair. Let's have a look at the insanity that this Vanity Fair article includes. This is a first-hand account from an interviewer who tracked them down while they were living in a car.
I'm excited for this. I had no idea that he fell off like this.
Oh man, you have it. Oh, it's so
Him and his
good.
wife
It's about to get so
quite
weird.
the pair.
I know. Evie Quaid called from a payphone in Vancouver to say that she and her husband Randy, the actor, tried to drive to Siberia, but they couldn't figure out how to get there. She said, "We're running for our lives." She wanted me to meet them the next day in Vancouver's Chinatown, which couldn't be arranged any other way, as the Quaids don't use cell phones anymore because Evie said they're tracking us.
Good God. They're trying to drive to Siberia.
drive to Siberia. There's a fucking ocean in the way, lady. They were the Hollywood star whackers. The couple had been talking about in television interviews ever since they were arrested in Canada in October, seeking asylum. The whackers, they said, were the same people who had killed Keith Carradine and Heath Ledger. David Carradine died from the old choke and stroke.
Yeah.
No one killed him except his own kinks in that situation, I'm afraid.
Pushing the limits.
Yeah, it was just the belt was just too good a leather. That's what killed him. Possibly the Hollywood whackers now possibly set up Robert Blake and could now be targeting Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan. All of these people have got like multiple things going on in their lives.
Yeah. I was going to say, are the whackers just mental illness? Is that code?
Yeah, that's it. They're the people that are slipping them the drugs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Are either of you mentally unstable, schizophrenic, or on drugs? Andrea Canning asked on Good Morning America. Do you think we are? Demanded Evie. No, said Randy. Yeah, we think you are. I found the Quaid sitting in their car outside of a Chinese tea room on a block, glowing with red and yellow neon lights. Wow. Nobody was around. It was night. Their car, a black Prius, was crammed with stuff: clothes, coats, shoes, papers, a pillow, blankets, and an excitable Australian cattle dog named Doji.
Jesus, they're living in a Prius with a dog?
With a dog.
Not even a little dog. A decent-sized cattle dog.
A big herd dog. That's so funny. The dog, Doji, was hoarse from barking while he was in the pound when his owners were being detained by Canadian immigration. So he was taken to a pound while they were sorting that shit out. The car smelled of
back of the Prius.
Well, yeah. The car smelled of fast food and dog pee and Randy's cigars because he smokes cigars constantly. Yeah, that's a horrifying smell. Could you imagine if you could bottle that? Oh my God, that's like warfare level smells right there. That's disgusting. I asked the Quaids if they were living in their car. Only on nights when we're too terrified to leave our stuff or don't feel secure. So yes, they're living in their car now.
Wow, so they're both having some sort of psychosis here.
They're having a full-on mental break at this point.
Okay.
Evie said, we used to have a Mercedes. The whole ordeal has forced us to become incredibly green. So their paranoia turned them into car-dwelling, like crap-hoarding, piss-smelling eco-warriors, basically.
You know, as it does.
We're going to save the world in this piss-smelling Prius. Get in, Randy. Priuses, this is so amazing. This next paragraph fucking cracked me. Priuses are deceptively roomy, drawled Randy, who's originally from Houston. We're tall people, and legroom is important. Glad you got your priorities straight there, Randy Quaid. Stop smoking
not
cigars.
Surprisingly roomy, though.
They're not. They're really not, especially compared to a Mercedes, for fuck's sake. Evie, 47, a former Hollywood it girl who once modeled nude for Helmut Newton and put up a show in a gallery in LA consisting of giant photographs of her pierced vagina, was dressed in black. Questions. You have questions. Yes, people buy art like that.
Okay.
Yeah, she was dressed in a black YSL blazer, vest, pants, and combat boots. Fugitive chic. That's a fucking great line. That's amazing. All seriousness, that was printed in Vanity Fair. Fugitive chic. Yeah, amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all the rage.
All the rage. Yeah, you got to wear that YSL if you're going to get on the run. She was wearing a bejeweled Prada belt that looked expensive. She was verging on emaciated, tense, and jittery. Drugs, drugs, drugs. Looking for some more drugs. We haven't eaten at a table in a restaurant like this in 18 months, Randy said, as we settled into a corner of a brightly lit tea room, which was otherwise empty. Both Quaids were glancing nervously around. Drugs. They're hunting us, Evie said. It's really happening. They've got us in a spiral. Well, you're in a spiral, all right. Don't let up on them. Drive them off the road. Starve them to death. She was slapping her hands together for emphasis. Pull their money out of their bank accounts. What the fuck is she talking about?
People. This sounds really methy.
Yeah, this is got meth written all over it or something. There's something going on here, right? People started noticing that there was something seriously amiss with the Quaids about 3 years ago when Randy left the Broadway-bound musical Lone Star Love and was then banned for life from the Actors Equity Association, the stage union, for physically and verbally abusing his fellow performers. So he's got a case of the Bill Murrays there, unfortunately. Yeah, that's not good. Then came the arrest and the couple's bizarre appearance at various court dates. They wore pink handcuffs, and Evie carried in Randy's Golden Globe and had a valid credit card affixed to her forehead.
To court?
To court.
Yeah, Judge that's what you need. That. You've got to have the Golden Globe. And by all accounts, you've got to have something stuck to your head. To your
forehead. I'm thinking of putting my keys there. Because I'm always losing those. It's a great
That's a good one.
Thank you,
I've got jury duty for federal district court here in like a couple of weeks. I think maybe I'm going to come in
out of it. Put the fucking credit card there.
Learn this from Evie Quaid.
Evie Quaid told me to do this. They're after me, the Hollywood star whackers. By the time they arrived in Canada, calling themselves refugees and claiming they were targets of an assassination plot, the Quaids had gone viral. I asked them when they believed their troubles began. They said it was in Marfa, Texas, and the rural artist community where Giant was shot. They said they had traveled there in the summer of 2009 to look at ranches and stuff, and erect a Randy Quaid museum.
Okay, I'd go to the troubles.
I would go to that. I would also believe that the trouble started before then because someone thought, let's build a Randy Quaid museum.
Yeah.
It's convenient if if you need to pay for something, you can just slam your head down. That's true.
Only if the card has a tap function, though.
That's a good point. You can just like hover over the thing with your head, just wiggle it around. So yeah, a Randy Quaid museum. They'd been fixing up a building in the middle of town, reportedly with the proper permits. Again, Randy Quaid Museum. Already, Evie said something really weird had been starting to happen with Randy's mail. His royalty and residual checks weren't coming. We were really, truly panicked. I mean, just call your fucking agent. You know?
Turn in your change of address.
Exactly. That shit happens all the time. It's the postal service, for God's sake. We were really, truly panicked. Adding to the unrest was the recent demise of the actor David Carradine, a friend of Randy's, whose death from apparent autoerotic asphyxiation in Thailand, the Quaids believed to be suspicious. It's not.
It's a different kind of Hollywood whacker there.
This isn't, that's a different guy. This isn't Jeffrey Epstein. This is a man in a cupboard with a belt around his neck trying to masturbate. That's all that is. Right? Yep. This isn't someone who what has David Carradine got on anyone? It's David fucking Carradine,
They really wanted to learn kung fu.
Yeah.
They didn't teach him. So
he's like, you will not kill Bill. I will not help you.
Oh wait, did I get the wrong Carradine? Was he not the kung fu one?
No,
he was. History Channel cowboy one, Carradine?
I think I can't remember. Oh god,
now I got them all mixed together.
They're all one big Carradine thing. They are one being known as the Carradine. The aforementioned Hollywood star whackers, decided, okay, if we knock off David, then we can do is simply collect the insurance covering his participation in the television show he was working on overseas. I don't think
that's how that works.
No, it's like a couple $100,000. I mean, you keep him alive, you earn a lot more from the thing, right?
How would they get the insurance for it?
Exactly.
Can you take out a policy with the beneficiaries being the Hollywood whackers?
I don't think so. Okay. I don't think. I don't. And also, like, this is Hollywood. Like, insurance money is not big compared to the returns on a successful project.
Yeah,
that's like basic coverage right there. So that doesn't make sense.
It's normal people money.
Yeah, it is. It's like life changing for us, but when you're a multinational conglomerate, it's really disappointing money. Evie said, it's almost moronic. It's so simple. It's definitely moronic, Evie.
Oh, yeah.
For fucking sure, it's moronic. She also said she suspected Jeremy Piven's falling ill from mercury poisoning was another sign of a dastardly plot by the Broadway producers of Speed the Plow to collect insurance money. I think Piven's still alive.
He is.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know he had mercury poisoning, but I would assume that's just from eating too much fish.
Well, yeah. It's like you're on Broadway, you're eating sushi, You might get mercury poisoning. It's that simple. It was an orchestrated hit, she said. They could have put mescaline in his water. That's not mercury, lady.
No,
that's a different thing.
Makes for a way better
experience than mercury poisoning. Jeffrey Richards, one of the producers of the play, declined to comment. I'm not fucking surprised. Yeah. Who would want to be associated with this mess? Oh my god. Anyway,
so I'm not even commenting on that.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with these people. You enjoy your piss-smelling car. I'm staying in Broadway. Anyway, let's go back to that's the Vanity Fair story that they're talking about, where basically you're witnessing the mental complete breaking of two people. So let's get back to the actual chronological events here. So Quaid's wife Evie was actually granted Canadian citizenship in 2011 based on her parentage, and Quaid sought permanent resident status as the husband of a Canadian, which is smart. But in January 2013, the request is denied. So womp womp. Mercury poisoning was my nickname in college. I like that. That's good. Sorry, I missed one earlier. Certified Randy moment. Man, that's going to have to become a thing from now on. Like Randy Quaid moments. So
calling her Randy.
We'll call it a Randy, yeah, when something like that happens. Holy shit. Quaid lived in Montreal around 2013 and was briefly arrested for not checking in as a non-resident, which is like, I mean, that's a thing, right? Especially when you're kind of people are going to be watching Randy Quaid because he's kind of a bit of a loose cannon. In 2014,
not Quaid's easy to hide.
No, when you're like almost Andre the Giant, it's difficult to hide. In 2014, the Quaids sued the U.S. State Department for revoking their passports in 2011. That's not going to go well for you. By 2015, the Quaids' legal appeals in Canada were exhausted, and he was notified he was being deported 1 week prior to the deportation date, I should say. What's he doing? He's going Randy. Yeah, that fucking works. Toasterzoid, that's a great one. So 1 week prior to the deportation date, the couple drove across the Canadian border into Vermont, where they were detained by U.S. Customs. The couple were detained pending an extradition procedure ordered by the state of California. We've got to get on the run. Where should we disappear to? Venezuela, Morocco, Iran, Switzerland? No, Vermont. No.
They got good syrup, I hear.
They do. They got Ben and Jerry's as far as the eye can see.
Which is what you want when you're on meth.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you're getting hungry at that point. So, sweets. On review of the state of California's case, the Vermont judge found irregularities and voided the extradition request, whereupon the Quaids were released and allowed to remain in Vermont without conditions. Dodged a bullet there.
Okay.
With his lawyer at his side, Quaid asserted in a press conference that the reason he was released was that the California judge had issued an arrest warrant before the crime had been committed. That's bullshit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, look at him lawyering up there. In principle, the Quaids were the subject to arrest should he travel to another state. Yet in 2017, they vacationed in California without incident. So he went back to California. That's fucking weird.
He's like...
Yeah. You can't get me, Hollywood star whackers. I'm in your state. Quaid and his wife plan to make Vermont their permanent home as his wife grew up there. So that's 2017. That's kind of where we leave the Randiness for now. But I'd, in case you're wondering, has Randy Quaid moved on with his life and kind of changed? Maybe,
yeah. Did he get better?
Did he get better? I'm going to give you a small sampling of Randy Quaid's Twitter account right now.
Oh boy.
So, yeah. The Democrats are a corrupt, rabid grizzly bear, and the DOJ and FBI are the woods hiding him. Hiding him? What do we do to survive now that we have the White House loaded for bear? Question mark. Is that like...
That's not even how that phrase works.
No. And that's also, that's from May 19th, 2023. That's 2 fucking days ago. So,
God. Okay.
Yeah. So, next quote. FBI leadership raked today for destroying an agent's life and depriving his family of clothing. He had a 2-week-old daughter, all for exposing the Bureau's unlawful retracking of every American who lawfully traveled to D.C. on January the 6th, referencing the January the 6th attack on the Capitol. This quote is from May 18th, 2023. That's 3 days ago as the...
Dude, please tell me Randy Quaid was in the Capitol. I want that video.
I mean, you couldn't miss him.
I mean,
like
he's
head and shoulders above everyone else. He's probably not climbing a wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not doing a Spider-Man impression.
He's right there in Vermont.
Yeah, it's not far. It's not far. It was probably if he's smart, which I don't think he is, he was probably watching from afar. CNN still airing woke advertisers keep on advertising. They just keep fucking each other in the dark with no one watching and no one buying. Fucking in the dark, Randy, really? That's also from May 18th, 2018. So in 2 days, we've had FBI, DOJ, January 6th, Democrats, CNN, woke. This is in 2 days. These are 3 tweets.
He is
all that stuff from.
He is rapidly unraveling.
Yeah.
He's upset about something for sure.
There's something going on. And the person who would drum up false charges against a man for their own advancement or gain as a person with no talent of his own to exploit, and removing that untalented scumbag from the planet would be no loss and only make America a better place. That's Randy Quaid referencing Trump's sexual assault trial, which he absolutely did, and also calling for someone to be killed or for someone to kill the victim. That's from May 16th, 2023. That's 5 days ago as a recording of this podcast.
Holy hell.
So
did you tag him? Is he going to pop in here?
I tagged him when I retweeted the broadcast. I don't think he is. We haven't had many people in this evening, but if he sees it, hey, Randy, get your shit together, mate. What is wrong with you? Okay, so that's Randy Quaid. I've been wanting to cover Randy Quaid for a while because I was aware slightly of kind of him going... I mean, it's hard to know what happened. I'm guessing psychological break. Common Randy L. Yeah, Toasted Zoid. That's a fucking giant L right there. But I had no idea about the extent of this kind of...
No, I didn't either.
Grace.
But with them both having the same sort of paranoia, schizophrenic, psychotic break sort of thing happening at the same time, it leads me to believe that it's something like meth or an amphetamine type thing.
Yeah,
that would cause psychosis like that.
Because you can, I mean, there are instances, very common instances of collective hysteria and collective psychosis where it sort of spreads.
Yeah.
But not like that happens in an instant. Like when people are hemmed up and excitement and like all fear and scare, and like it happens like instantly. And then 10 minutes later, it's kind of gone.
Right.
Because people have like left the scene or they've kind of come to their senses. This is happening over a period of months, weeks, years, whatever it might be. I think that's either one or both of them have got some mental health illnesses in this, but I think there's more going on than just mental illness in this situation. And I think it's still going on because these tweets are the kind of things you see from like someone with 23 followers who have been listening to too much Andrew Tate, you know?
Right. They're going back and forth between, what is it, OAN and Andrew Tate and what's his face from InfoWars?
Yeah, fucking Alex Jones.
Yeah.
There's Ian Miles Chong in this as well. There's fucking our boy, what's his name? The alt-right outcast that we covered
Milo
a couple of weeks ago.
Yanovich?
Milo Yiannopoulos. Yeah.
So it's fucked his name all up.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all of these people kind of bundled into one Twitter feed. It's essentially like a greatest hits of stupidity and insanity.
Yeah.
From the alt-right.
I'm gonna have to follow him.
Yeah, it's kind of it's sad. It's like it's the opposite of George Takei's feed, where it's all like kind of positive and helping people and putting people in their place and standing up for rights. It's Randy Quaid, who started out as someone who seemed even keeled and made smart statements and kind of picked out the good and bad in LBJ in a really accurate and succinct way. That was like 30 years ago now. Now he's like nowhere near that person. It's weird. And I wonder, I've no idea what's going on with the Quaid family. I don't know if Dennis has ever released any statements about like his brother's behavior. Why would you get involved in that? That's just not something you want to be a part of, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's worrying.
I just keep wishing that I had a drop right now like I did in radio, where it's like they're on drugs.
They're on drugs. There's allegedly.
Oh yeah,
there's something going on there, right? Let's be honest. So, what do you think of Randy Quaid? I mean, he hasn't killed anyone.
No.
So there's that.
It bothers me a great deal, the potential that he had and how it just switched.
Yeah.
And you really got to wonder what happened there. And the craziness of it bothers me. The paranoia is scary. And God, the whole conspiracy theory pushing crap when you have a platform on the media, which it's bothersome. I know. Does he have a big following? Did you say?
I will just double check and see if he's retweeted us or shouted abuse at us or something like that. Randy R.R. Quaid on Twitter has 824,000 followers. And
it's a bit more than me.
So, yeah, there's quite a few followers. And this is his picture on Twitter.
Hey,
you can't see it right now.
Those are some kick-ass glasses.
Though. Those are some fucking fly as hell glasses right there. Randy, you're rocking it. He looks like a very tired... who's the guy who founded Def Jam? Rick Rubin.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a really tired Rick Rubin.
Kind of looks like homeless Santa.
Homeless Santa. Meth Santa.
I noticed here, I'm trying to get my beard to be as white as his. I'm excited for that day.
I'm right behind you, buddy. I've got a bunch of grey going on. I want all of the grey. I want it all grey.
Well, yeah, this is bugging me because I keep seeing it, and it's like, I just look like I've got fuzz in my face.
Yeah, I'm just eating something weird. So Randy Quaid.
The dramatic and quick thing, and the fact that he's wandering around trying to get asylum from the Hollywood star whackers.
Fucking name.
He's got classic crazy idiotness, and blowing up his career that way gets him extra points. So
for sure.
I'm comfortable going 82 on Randy Quaid.
Sure.
Give him a couple extra points for the tinfoil hat.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird one with Randy Quaid. Again, it feels sad to me. Again, I don't, as much as I don't like certain people, and Randy Quaid is definitely not someone I'm rooting for like I am slightly with Mike Tyson. It feels very sad when you see someone go through what is clearly a psychological break. It was sad when it happened to Britney Spears.
Oh yeah. It's happening again, it feels like.
Yeah. Some people just don't always have their mental health conditions under control. Kanye West is kind of like the perfect example of someone who really needs people around him who can help him manage his mental health. Because there's definitely nobody doing that for him, and he's finally been quiet for a while. But yeah, this is I don't like seeing people decline in this way and continue to either feed into it because it's become their brand now, or because they're just so deep into it they can't see a way out. But Randy Quaid has got some serious issues, and I do hope he kind of gets himself back on track. And he's not going to get there if he's spending hours on Twitter talking about January the 6th being completely lawful.
Yeah, rambling nonsense. My cat is trying to open the door right now as we speak. My little door handle is like dung, 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 dung.
It's Randy. It's Randy. He's in your pool house.
Oh boy.
Oh god. Run away. He's a giant man, but he can't run. So yeah, I think 82 is fine. I might revise the Tyson thing in future. It was so difficult for me to score that one. Part of me was thinking 90 initially.
I just wanted to talk about him. I was good with anything, honestly. I'm gonna be honest with you. I make up most of my scores off the top of my head.
Yeah, me too.
They're not. They're just arbitrary. It's kind of like the points on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like it's not a hard and fast scale we're going for here, but we do like to remind people that very few people are going to come close to beating Thomas Midgley Jr., who has doomed the fucking planet. So yeah, and that's our show for this week. Really, I had a lot of fun looking at Randy Quaid's history and looking at the multiple articles. The Vanity Fair article on Randy Quaid, the interview it's fascinating journalism. It's like Louis Theroux and every kind of weird documentary you could ever think of, but it's an actual written article, and he's like hanging out in a Chinese tea room looking over his shoulder the whole time. It's so weird. So yeah, and Tyson is a great one. We've had a really good episode in terms of like names.
I think
this time
so.
around, right? Yeah. Tyson is really interesting.
Dude, it was just wall to wall batshit crazy on this episode.
Yeah, and the declines.
Oh yeah,
were so rapid. I feel like Tyson's, despite what
kind of more like,
Tyson's is more of a kind of peaks and troughs, multiple like recoveries and stuff. Whereas Randy Quaid, his inexorable decline continues on Twitter, and I don't see a way back for him unless he gets some sort of help. But yeah, it's worrying. So, what was the other thing of it? I wanted to say all those insane, awful tweets were from the last week. Those are all happened in a week. It's crazy. Yeah. So that's our show for this week. Thank you guys so much for all of the support and love you keep giving us. Get in touch with us. If you go into the podcast notes on this, you will find links to our social medias. Mine and Derek's. We've got link trees. We are both on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get in touch with us. I'm even on TikTok. But it's confusing, and I don't like the UI, so I'm only occasionally on there.
I would be on TikTok, but I can't remember how to sign in any of my accounts.
That's right. Yeah, you are on there, but you're not signed in. I get
so
that as
bad
well.
at it.
I keep forgetting my password, and then I update the software, and it loses it, and I'm like, I can't remember this.
Every time
my face.
Every time I forget my password, it creates a new one for me. So I got like 16 TikToks.
Oh man, no wonder their numbers are so good. So yeah, give us a follow on our various different platforms. Derek's name is usually That Effing Guy, and I am Why All the Anger. So
how did you come across that name? Just random fact here then.
So 12 years ago, I started a website and a blog called Why All the Anger, which was basically taking weird and stupid stories that I found really interesting, and kind of just putting them out there as an exercise in writing while I was working at the same time and working in the media and stuff. I just wanted to express myself in my own way and do a comical thing. A lot of it was based on, I have to give credit to whatwould-tyler-durden-do.com, which I was a huge fan of at the time. I'm in touch with the owner now. He's a great guy, Brandon. So yeah, I kind of wanted to do something similar to that, but only in my own voice. And then it just carried on from there. I wrote that for years, like something like 145,000 words on that website. I did a quite a popular little segment called Inconsiderate Travelers, where I would surreptitiously photograph people on trains who would block seats so people couldn't sit next to them. And then I would disguise their identity by blurring out their faces and then putting Henry Kissinger's head over the top of the blur so that they couldn't be uncovered. So I was kind of capturing the inconsiderateness, but also maintaining their privacy in that moment. I probably wouldn't do that again now, but yeah, it bothered me at the time. I was doing a lot of train journeys, and that pissed me off.
You called attention to something that's a pain in the ass.
I did.
Yeah, see, mine's just simple because it's like, oh, Derek, that effing guy.
Wow. That's just really good. That works. As far as branding, that's perfect, man. And so that's kind of where that started, and I've just kind of kept going with it ever since. And the website's now defunct. I don't think you can even find it on the Wayback Machine now. But yeah, I've kind of kept it going, and I had a really good time. I even got some like theater reviews out of it, which was really cool.
Right on.
So, yeah, that was great. So yeah. That was our show. Mike Tyson, 87. Randy Quaid, 82. 2 massive declines. Tyson has somewhat recovered, although he's staring down the barrel of some pretty serious charges right now. Randy Quaid has recovered if you consider insane alt-right gibberish on Twitter a recovery. I don't. I think that's a continuation of the decline. But yeah, we'll see.
It probably will get worse before it gets better, I bet.
I think so. I don't think we've heard the last of either of these two. I think Randy Quaid's probably done with acting at this point. No one's going to want to work with him after the years of insanity that
I don't know, man. They worked with Mel Gibson.
Very true. Very true. Although they can make money with Mel Gibson. I'm not so sure they can do that with Randy Quaid. We'll see.
Not unless it's National Lampoon's Vacation.
No. I could stomach a National Lampoon's Vacation. I mean, he could, if like cousin Eddie has become a wild, insane conspiracy theorist, then I totally buy that.
Dude,
it's like
that would actually work.
Yeah, that would really work. Maybe he's been building up to that for like the last 20 years. Maybe that's what
he's doing what what's his face? Joaquin Phoenix did when he grew out the beard and acted all weird.
Yeah, he's basically just doing a Joaquin Phoenix only constantly and for years at a time, which is quite a challenge. So from a guy who scored 1 out of a possible 100 to someone who I suspect is going to score higher. Now, when I researched this guy, and we've kind of given it away by having the thumbnail the way we have, I've given it away to you and anyone who's seen like the thumbnail in advance. I knew this guy was a piece of shit. I knew he was a Hollywood idol, and a few years ago I discovered like some of the stuff that he had done. Until I researched him properly, I hadn't realized the sheer magnitude of this man's horribleness, I think, until I delved into it. Pretty much anything you can think of as a terrible human being, this man has done it. It is awful. So let me tell you the story of Errol Flynn, Hollywood's most famous prick. I want to hear the schemes he didn't do. That's actually a good point of the documentary for sure. That'll probably be in there as well. We need a biography of that guy. We need a biopic of that guy. Can you imagine? Oh my God, Netflix again! Give us the fucking money.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway,
put us on staff.
Seriously, you can make so much money with us, and we work very limited hours. Errol Leslie Thompson Flynn was born in Tasmania on 20th of June 1909 at Queen Alexandra Hospital in Battery Point, Tasmania. So he is a literal Tasmanian devil.
Nice. I was waiting for it. If you didn't say it, I had to.
We have to for sure. Yeah, and actually, a bunch of people have referenced this. They're like, he's the original Tasmanian devil. Oh, why is he a Tasmanian devil? Because he's an arsehole. His father, Theodore Thomas Flynn, was a lecturer and later professor of biology at the University of Tasmania. So, smart guy.
Okay.
His mother was born Lily Mary Young, but shortly after marrying Theodore at St. John's Church of England in Birch Grove. I need to say this properly because it's very confusing. Marrying Theodore at St. John's Church of England, Birch Grove, Sydney, Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
On the 23rd of January 1909, she changed her first name to Marrell. So Marrell Mary Young. I don't know why she changed her first name, but
Marrell married Errol?
Marrell married Teddy.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Marrell married Teddy, but Marrell was Mary originally. But she married and then wasn't Mary anymore. She was Marrell.
Oh, wow.
That's. I hope nobody was high listening to that because I just confused the fuck out of them. So his mother
shell gamed me.
Yeah. It's like a Russian nesting doll of insanity. Errol Flynn's mother plays a big part in like maybe why he's as fucked up as he was. Flynn described his mother's family as seafaring folk. Not even sure what the fuck that means.
They had a boat.
They had a boat, yeah. They were on the water a bit. They had a canoe. There you go. And this appears to be where his lifelong interest in boats and the sea originated. Both of his parents were Australian-born Irish, English, and Scottish descent. Despite Flynn's claims, there is no evidence that indicates he was descended from any of the mutineers from the Bounty, which was a big thing. There was a mutiny on the Bounty, and the mutineers took the boat to a place called Pitcairn Island and lived there away from the law because they were basically wanted for death as a result of stealing the ship and kicking the captain off or whatever.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Mutiny on the Bounty has been turned into a film a couple of times. I think.
Okay.
I want to say that Mel Gibson was in a version of it, maybe, and one of the original versions also had. Who's the guy from The Godfather? Last Tango in Paris.
Marlon Brando?
Marlon Brando. Thank you. Yes,
okay.
Marlon Brando was in it. And that was at the point in time where he was like, yeah, I'm just going to tape my lines to the back of this guy so that I can read them because I'm not learning that shit. So Despite Flynn's claims, he says he's descended from the Bounty Mutineers. He's not, because all of their descendants live on Pitcairn Island now.
Okay.
After spending some time in Papua New Guinea, he returned to Australia, where he attended the Hutchins School, Hobart College, the Friends School, and Albuera Street Primary School, and was expelled from all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy.
What do you do?
Right.
Okay.
So let's get into it. Some of those schools were in Papua New Guinea, but he had to flee Papua New Guinea, and his family did, because at the age of 7, he was caught playing doctor with a girl. And yeah, so he and his family fled so that they weren't killed. Yeah. While some stories claim that he was expelled from some of these schools for stealing, which is likely the case, we'll get to that in a bit as well, Flynn boasted that he was kicked out of the school for having intimate relations with a school laundress, someone who did the laundry. Yes. Now, I want to point out, Errol Flynn is full of shit. Complete, like more so than even Steven Seagal. He lies like he drinks, basically constantly. And I don't believe it. His grasp on reality is about as good as his grasp with self-control. He claimed in his biography, which is awful, it's horrible, that he went back to New Guinea at a certain point and became a slave trader. He claimed, that he would go to the locals and say, hey, I'm going to go to a plantation or a farm. Do you want to come with me? We can go and like have a nice time. We can hang out at the beach and we can go to the plantation. There's food there and stuff. And he claims that he took them to the plantation and then sold them to the farmers and the plantation owners and tricked them into it. And he just like claimed it. There's no evidence that it ever happened. But he said, oh, yeah, I was a slave trader and a pirate. Like, as if that's a good thing to claim. I know. Why would you claim that? Why would you claim to be a slave trader?
That's weird.
That's not a good thing to be. You would think that you would cover that up in a biography, not boast about something that didn't happen. He
it's
also
like all the
said,
stuff I did I don't talk about.
Well, yeah. And like, why would you print something that's not true that makes you look like evil? He admitted it. The thing is, he admitted a lot of stuff that we know is not true. So
that's so weird.
It's so weird, but that's not even the half of it. He also claimed that he was caught by like pirates or the authorities or something, and they were chasing him through the jungle, and he shot one of them in the neck and killed them. So he claims in his biography that he killed a man.
So he wrote a fiction book.
He basically did. He was like, I'm Errol Flynn. I was a pirate. I was a slave trader. I also murdered a man. But like none of it. And he also claimed that he was acquitted of it at trial because it was self-defense. So...
Was he maybe drunk and remembering movies he had acted in?
Maybe. Yes. That makes more sense than the reality of it.
Jesus.
Yeah. I couldn't find out any specifics on whether the actual trial for murder took place, but a lot of people seem to think it did. So maybe he did kill someone.
Wouldn't that be some shit? You just lie about killing somebody and then go on trial for it?
I know.
And it didn't happen?
Because it didn't happen. Like you're acquitted of it. But it may have actually happened. And it's even more, I mean, it shows at the time, no records of it, so it didn't destroy his life. So he went on to be a huge star, even though he actually may have killed someone. And if that part's true, maybe he was a slave trader as well. So that's Errol.
We made him a movie star.
I know. Are we sure Steven Seagal isn't related to him? I mean, maybe. I mean, they're all related in the bond of bullshittery. So, yeah, I couldn't believe it. Anyway, this is all before he's become a star. He's still in like his 20s when this shit is happening, maybe even younger. After being dismissed from a job as a junior clerk with a Sydney shipping company for pilfering petty cash. So he stole. So that stuff about him being kicked out of school for stealing, it's probably more likely. He went to Papua New Guinea at the age of 18, seeking his fortune in tobacco planting and gold mining in the Morobe goldfield. This is probably where he did the slave thing. He spent the next 5 years oscillating between living in New Guinea and Sydney. Also had a bunch of engagements and relationships that went nowhere during this time because of his rampant womanizing and theft and apparently slaving people. I don't know.
It's hard to know with this guy. Australian filmmaker Charles Chauvel was making a film about the mutiny on the Bounty in 1933 called In the Wake of the Bounty, a combination of dramatic reenactments of the Bounty and a documentary on present-day Pitcairn Island. Now, incidentally, please don't Google Pitcairn Island. It's an interesting place. There's only like maybe 5 families on the whole thing. They've got like one shop. It's very kind of like Lost Island, a few hundred people living there. The only problem is, if you Google Pitcairn Island, you're more likely to come up with the only thing it's really famous for, other than the Bounty, in that it's one of the site of one of the most horrific sexual abuse cases in modern history.
Well, like, I'm glad that you told me that, because you told me not to Google it. And I almost just did it.
They had to build a prison to house the people on the island who were found guilty of it. And the prison was like kind of an open door. Like they could come and go and visit their families all they wanted. And like there's a whole divide on the island. Like, was it abuse? Was it not abuse? It's like, don't get into it. It's dark. About as dark as what we're about to talk about, actually. So fair warning. This is awful. Errol Flynn was terrible. Chauvel was looking for someone to play the role of Fletcher Christian. There are different stories about the way Flynn was cast. According to one, Chauvel saw his picture in an article about a yacht wreck involving Flynn. So he crashed a fucking yacht and wrecked it. Of course, you write an article about it. Yeah, he looks good. I'll cast him. He's already crashed one boat. The most popular account is that he was discovered by a cast member, John Warwick. The film was not a strong success at the box office, but Flynn was the lead role, leading him to go to Great Britain in late 1933 to pursue a career in acting. So he's made one film. It was a bit of a bomb, but he's shown enough potential to go to the UK and train. And he actually trains as a stage actor, which is a very good, particularly in the 1930s. He'll have been surrounded by like John Gielgud and like Laurence Olivier and like some of the greatest actors in history. So that's a good time to be training as a stage actor in the UK. Yeah, big opportunity. So he joined the Northampton Repertory Company in the town's Royal Theatre, where he worked as an actor while receiving training for 7 months. But in 1934, Flynn was dismissed from the Northampton Rep for, if I had to let you guess what he was dismissed for, what would you have said?
Probably not playing doctor. Stealing.
Nope. Stealing would have been a good guess. That seems to be one of the main reasons he's gotten into trouble this far, along with womanizing and slave trading and possible murder. But no, he threw a woman down a flight of stairs.
Oh,
yeah.
Ouch. What the hell?
Stage manager just picked her up and threw her down the stairs. What the fuck is wrong with this man? I want to remind you at this point, he's 23 years old. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that'll get you fired. Was there no legal
he got away with it. They were just
fired?
like, he got away with it because it was the 30s and they were like, well, you know, she was a woman. I guess you didn't beat her as well. So yeah, he got away with that. No, weird. I know. He got away with that. No charge, but he was sacked. But he returned. So let's see. He returned to London. Asher cast him as the lead in Murder at Monte Carlo, a quota quickie made by Warner Brothers at the Teddington Studios in Middlesex, which is just like, we have a budget, we need to use it, let's make a quick film. The movie was not widely seen. It's also been lost to time. Like there's no prints of it left. But Asher was enthused. Yeah, which is really sad. But Asher was enthusiastic about Flynn's performance and cabled Warner Brothers in Hollywood, recommending him for a contract. And executives agreed after they saw a picture of him because he's a handsome, dashing guy, and he's quite tall as well. So he's like he fits the Clark Gable mold at this point. And they send him over to Los Angeles. So Flynn found himself being considered for a big-time role in the big-budget 1935 swashbuckling film Captain Blood by Warner Brothers. Although he was essentially unknown at the time, his initial screen test proved to be enough for the studio to cast him in the part. The studio's judgment turned out to be right, as the swashbuckling film turned Flynn into a major movie star in the blink of an eye. And by 1940, he was the 14th most popular actor in the US and the 7th in the UK. And there were a lot of actors at this point churning out films.
It's because he was an actual pirate before, obviously.
Well, I mean, allegedly, yeah. He may have done some awful shit. So he was he was like method for this guy. So now let's get to his big time. This is like his peak. Flynn followed this up with his most famous film, The Adventures of Robin Hood, in 1938, playing the title role, and you go, aha! And they're like wearing green pants and the color stuff. So playing in the title role opposite Olivia de Havilland's Marion, the movie was a global success. It was the 6th top-grossing film of 1938. It was also the studio's first large-budget color film using 3-strip Technicolor process. The budget for Robin Hood was the highest ever for a Warner Brothers production. Up to that point, $2.47 million.
Holy crap.
Yeah, in 1938 money. But it more than made back its cost and turned a huge profit as it grossed $3.9 million in the US and $2.495 million overseas. So, doing my usual thing, adjusting for inflation, the budget for the film was $52.8 million, and the gross was it's mid-budget film now, I would say. It's slightly bigger than Independent. Maybe
it's a decent budget film. Yeah,
it's a decent budget film. Maybe like a big horror movie. Maybe like a kind of a one of those like Insidious films. Maybe it's that kind of budget level film. Yeah. And it made back 136.6 million. So
that's
nice return.
double.
Yes. Yeah. And not we also have to remember at the time there was no advertising. Like, when you were calculating these days, when we talk about a film's return, it has a $200 million budget, but you're going to spend that on advertising as well. So it has to make back 400 million before it breaks even. And then you're hoping for at least 100 million profit. There was no, advertising was peanuts back then. So you're talking about no extra cost on top of it. So
and it's
actually,
1938, right?
Yeah. So that's $86 million worth of profit right there. So it's good money.
I imagine though, well, I guess it's at the beginning of bad times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And 1938 as well. It's important to think about that, this is still kind of at the tail end of the Depression, just before the Second World War. There's not a lot of money around at this point. We're still in a really shit time. So for a film to make that kind of money, that's a good sign that he's a big draw. Thief, slaver, murderer, abuser. He's really starting to fill his despicable card. Yeah. Kimberly, by the end of this, he's going to have the full bingo, I swear to God. After this, Warner Brothers, because they realized they had a cash cow, did everything they could to protect Errol Flynn, including making up a story where he and his wife were in a car accident because kind-hearted Errol Flynn had swerved off the road to avoid hitting a cat and crashed his car in the process. And him and his wife, they were so beaten up about it because they were injured in the crash. Actually, the real reason they made up that story, he'd been beating his wife, and they needed a cover for it.
Knew it.
Yep. Apparently,
I knew that was coming, man.
I know. It's so fucking bad. And apparently, these two fought all the time. It wasn't one-sided, but that's no excuse at all. And they were called the Fighting Flynns, by other Hollywood people. So, that's how bad they got. And he'd have to show up on set, and that's one of the reasons you see old pictures of Errol Flynn around this time with tons of makeup on. It wasn't just for the screen. He was covered in bruises and scars and shit because he'd be fighting with his wife.
They were that crazy ass couple.
They were that couple, and it's not like they were like, they're always fighting over the most minor things. No, it's because he was trying to fuck every other woman on the planet. So
that makes sense.
And he was drunk all the time. It also received lavish praise, and this is the Robin Hood film, lavish praise from critics, and became a world favorite. In 2019, Rotten Tomatoes summarized the critic consensus: Errol Flynn thrills as the legendary title character, and the film embodies the type of imaginative family adventure tailor-made for the silver screen, which is kind of true. The Robin Hood films are kind of very easily accessible, even though they're set in the past. I feel like most Robin Hood films, no matter how shit they are, they're always going to appeal to families because they're relatively harmless for the most part.
Exploitation of the people and freeing them, that's relatively harmless. So in 1995, the film was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant by the United States Library of Congress and was selected for preservation by the National Film Registry. So it's one of those films that's now like sealed away for the end times so that we can watch it when the world fucking burns.
When the aliens get here, it's on the lists of things they're watching.
Oh, Errol Flynn. Well, I bet he was a really nice guy. Years later, in a 2005 interview, Olivia de Havilland described how during the film, she decided to tease Errol Flynn, whose wife was on set and watching closely. This is the wife that's constantly fighting with him. De Havilland said, "And so we had one kissing scene, which I looked forward to with a great delight. I remember I blew every take, at least 6 in a row, maybe 7, maybe 8, and we had to kiss all over again. And Errol Flynn got really rather uncomfortable, and he had, if I may say, a little trouble with his tights." You see, kids, back in the 1930s, they didn't have a word for cock tease, but that's what that was. And I also like, why would you do that? Him and his wife are just going to argue about it.
I was just wondering if she was going to punch her.
Maybe. You never know. But apparently him and Olivia de Havilland were in love, but it never lined up. And she was always like, "No, I'm not one of your floozies. I'm not going to fuck you. You're married." And he was like, "Oh, please. Oh my God. You're the only one that's turning me down." So the final duel between Robin and Sir Guy of Gisborne, Basil Rathbone, another very famous film star at the time who used to play Sherlock Holmes a lot.
Okay.
Is a classic echoing the battle on the beach in Captain Blood, where Flynn also kills Rathbone's character after a demonstration of fine swordplay in these like incredibly choreographed like fencing things. According to Faulkner's student Tex Allen, who was the choreographer for the film, Faulkner had good material to work with. Veteran Basil Rathbone was a good fencer, and Flynn, though new to the school of fencing, was incredibly athletic and really, really quick. And that's one thing that's noted. Errol Flynn was fucking hard. He would fight everyone. So,
I mean,
he's drunk.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's captured slaves, so why wouldn't he try and punch people? He's very athletic, he's drunk all the time, and he's quick to temper, so why not get in a few scraps? And you probably can't injure him because he's so drunk he's not going to feel it. The success of The Adventures of Robin Hood did little to convince the studio that their prize swashbuckler should be allowed to do other things, but Warner Brothers actually relented and allowed Flynn to try a screwball comedy called Forza Crowd. Despite the presence of de Havilland and direction of Kurtz, it was not a success. So actually, they would have been like, yeah, that didn't pay off. So
from swashbuckler to slapstick?
Yeah, it's a bit of a leap, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
And it didn't work. Anyway, he followed it up. The Sisters, 1938, a drama showing the lives of 3 sisters in the years from 1904 to 1908, including a dramatic rendering of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, was quite memorable and popular. Flynn played an alcoholic sports reporter, Frank Medlin, who sweeps Louise Elliott Betty Davis off her feet on a visit to Silverbow, Montana. Their married life in San Francisco is difficult, and Frank sails to Singapore just hours before the catastrophe. So this is basically Errol Flynn playing himself.
Right.
It's booze, broads, and boats. That's all he's doing in this film. It's like, holy shit.
Nailed it.
I could do method again. Oh my God. The original ending of the film was the same as The Boat, where Louise married a character named William Benson, but preview audiences disliked the ending, and a new one was made for the film where Frank comes to Silverbow to find her, and they reconcile, and everything's fine. Apparently, audiences wanted Errol Flynn to either get the girl or vice versa. They were just like, no, we want Errol Flynn kissing on screen all the time. No unhappiness. Shut the fuck up.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Flynn was also had a powerful dramatic role in The Dawn Patrol, a remake of a pre-coded 1930s drama of the same name about the Royal Flying Corps fighter pilots in World War I and the devastating burden the officers carried by the officers who must send men out to die every morning, which is a true story. That shit really happened because World War One, the planes were made of balsa wood and spit, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And sorry, what were you going to say?
I said good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. See you later, chaps. Try not to piss yourselves and die. Flynn and co-star Basil Rathbone and David Niven led a cast that was all male and predominantly British. Director Edmund Goulding's biographer Matthew Kennedy wrote, "Everyone remembered a set filled with a fraternal good cheer. The filming of Dawn Patrol was an unusual experience for everyone connected with it, and dissipated for all time the legend of the Britishers are lacking in a sense of humor. The picture was made to accompaniment of more ribbing than Hollywood had ever witnessed. The setting for all of the horseplay was the beautiful British manners and the buttercups." I don't even know where he's going with this. "The expression of polite and pained shock on the faces of Niven, Flynn, Rathbone, etc. when women with visitors were embarrassed was the best part of the nonsense." So the women were privy to them fucking around and they were embarrassed by it. Now, he says that, it was all in good jest and it was all ribbing and stuff like that. That's not what David Niven says. David Niven has a very different story. David Niven went on an interview in the 1970s and said that he remembers being on the set one day with himself and Errol Flynn, and they were on horseback. They were actual kind of trained riders that have been brought in from Hollywood because there had to be horse scenes and stuff and people riding around on horses. It's a bit like Days of Thunder. They've got to be on a bike or a horse. They've got to do manly things.
Gotcha.
And one of the cowboys deliberately fucked with Errol Flynn's horse to get it to buck him off, and sure enough, it did. It flung him up in the air, and he fell backwards and landed on his back. And obviously, Flynn was pissed, and all these cowboys were laughing and blah blah blah. And the cowboy looked at Errol Flynn and he said, "Do you want to make something off it?" And Flynn grabbed him by the throat, threw him off the horse, and beat the shit out of him to the point where he was unconscious and had to be taken away in an ambulance.
Oops.
Yeah, Errol Flynn was a dangerous man. Don't fuck with this guy. He beats his wife and you. So
that was a miscalculation right there.
That was, don't do that. Why would you get a horse to throw someone off? That killed Christopher Reeve, basically. I mean, he was paralyzed, but it shortened his life significantly. That's a really shitty thing to do. Sometimes
cowboys can be an odd breed.
Yeah, they can. And sometimes they get beaten to the point where they're eaten through a straw for a month as well, apparently. So in 1939, Flynn and de Havilland teamed up again with Kurtz for Dodge City, the first Western for them both, set after the American Civil War. Flynn was worried that audiences would not accept him in Westerns, but the film was Warner Brothers' most popular film of 1939, so he's on top of the world and went on to make a number of movies in the genre. So he's doing all right. He's spreading his wings a bit. Flynn continued to be a bankable star in the 1940s, but began to go off the rails. This is where it was pretty fucking bad to begin with, but this is where it gets awful, horrible. Flynn became a naturalized American citizen the 14th of August, 1942. With the United States fully involved in the Second World War, he attempted to enlist in the armed services, but failed the physical exam due to a recurrent malaria, which he contracted in New Guinea when he was being a slave trader. He had a heart murmur because of all of the booze and being a dangerous human being. Various venereal diseases,
that various. Makes sense.
Yeah, he is a bucket of clap and stuff. And latent pulmonary tuberculosis. He's got TB.
Ooh.
And malaria and a heart murmur and his dick's falling off. So,
wow. Holy shit.
Toastazoid. Tuberculosis. I know, in the 1930s, and he's fucking his way through Hollywood at this point. So,
yikes!
I mean, hey, sorry, love, you've got crabs and TB now. So it appears I napped too long. Toastazoid, welcome. We're really glad you're here for this one. So Errol Flynn couldn't get into the army, even though he was a big Hollywood action star. Not to mention he's crazy as hell. Yes, he is fucking insane. You do not need this man in the army. So let's kind of list that again. Heart murmur, tuberculosis, every sexually transmitted disease under the sun, and malaria, and fucked up addiction to alcohol at this point, because he's a full-blown alcoholic at this point.
Flynn was mocked by critics and reporters who claimed he was a draft dodger because the studio refused to admit that their star, promoted for his physical beauty and athleticism, and he was athletic, had been disqualified due to health problems and the fact he was riddled with the clap. The role of Gentleman Jim Corbett in Raoul Walsh's Gentleman Jim in 1942 was one of Flynn's favorites. Warner Brothers purchased the right to make the film of Corbett's life from his widow, Vera, specifically because she liked their handsome, athletic, and charming leading man. Vera, stay the fuck away from this man. He'll either fuck you or throw you down some stairs.
Yeah.
Grandfather Nurgle loves this guy. Oh, man, you are... Yeah, well... might have a different opinion after this. The movie bears little resemblance to the boxer's life. The story was a crowd pleaser, despite or perhaps because of its departure from reality. Gentleman Jim packed theaters, according to Variety. It was the third Errol Flynn film to gross at least $2 million in profit in that time. So that's $50 million profit in 2023 money. And that was the third Errol Flynn movie that year alone.
Dude, the studios have to love him.
I know. So he's made them $150 million in 2023 money profit just by himself. That is huge money. So the dude was big box office. And no wonder they're protecting him and making up all sorts of fucking lies about this guy. So Flynn eagerly undertook extensive boxing training for this film, working with Buster Wiles and Mushy Callahan. What a fucking name that is.
This is an awesome name.
This is an awesome
Mushy Callahan from now on.
Yeah. How do you get that name? Because my face is all fucked up from the boxing. Callahan's remembrances were documented in Charles Hyam's Errol Flynn, The Untold Story. Errol tended to use his right fist. I had to teach him to... Well, he's only been beating up his wife. I had to teach him to use his left and move very fast on his feet. Luckily, he had excellent footwork. He was dodgy. That's the slave trading. And he could duck faster than anybody I saw. That's also part of the fighting with cowboys. And by the time I was through with him, he'd jab with his left like a veteran. So it was a bit like De Niro and Raging Bull, in that by the time he was finished with that film, he was like, this guy could fight for a title. Like, he's that fucking good.
Damn.
Unlike Mickey Rourke. Flynn took...
This is Flynn.
Yes. Watch out, Mrs. Flynn. You've just made him a more effective boxer. Flynn took the role seriously and was rarely doubled during the boxing sequences. In The Two Lives of Errol Flynn by Michael Friedland, Alexis Smith told of taking the star aside. It's so silly working all day and then playing all night and dissipating yourself. Don't you want to live a long life? Errol was his usual, apparently unconcerned self. I'm only interested in this half, he told her. I don't care about the future.
That sounds like a lot of people these days, I think.
That does. And that's the fuck you, doctor, I will live forever attitude that like teenagers have. But this man's pushing 30 at this point. It's time to stop with that shit. So
yeah, you should try to grow out of that stuff by your 20s.
Yeah,
I mean mid-20s.
Like enjoy life, have fun in your 20s and stuff, but there's gonna have to come a point where being like a fucking insane lunatic, drinking all the time, getting into fights, being full of every venereal disease, malaria, heart, TB, like at some point you might want to slow down.
Well, I'm not saying you should grow out of that stuff by your mid-20s. I don't think you should have any of that stuff.
No, you shouldn't. You probably shouldn't have TB by your 20s. Like, get your fucking vaccinations. So anyway, guess what happened next with this man not caring for the future? Flynn collapses on set on the 15th of July, 1942, while filming a boxing scene with Ward Bond. Filming was shut down while he recovered. He returned a week later. In his biography, My Wicked, Wicked Ways, we'll get to that later, Flynn described the episode as a mild heart attack. So, as long as it's only mild, just a smidge of a heart attack, just a little. Anyway, Flynn's 31. He's just had a heart attack.
That's an early heart attack.
Even for the 30s and 40s, that is the weirdest age to have a heart attack. You shouldn't be having that until you're in your 50s like this point in time. Like a lifetime of smoking and drinking and eating greasy food, that'll get you a heart attack in your 50s at this point in time. Not at 31. Yeah. That's young.
That takes work and talent.
Yes, that is. That's some
insane bullshit to get yourself a heart attack at that age. In late 19... here we go. So he's had a heart attack. You'd think he'd take a break at this point. He doesn't need any extra stress in his life. But in late 1942, two 17-year-old girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Satterley, separately accused Flynn of statutory rape at his Bel Air home. At the Bel Air home of Flynn's friend Frederick McAvoy, and on board Flynn's yacht Sirocco, respectively. The scandal received immense press attention. Many of Flynn's fans founded organizations to publicly protest the accusations. One such group, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the American Boys Club for the Defense of Errol Flynn, or ABCDEF. Yeah.
What year was
like
this? Was
1942. I mean, this is just before Mr. Abel. It's close, isn't it? It sounds fake. Apparently, that group accumulated a substantial membership that included William F. Buckley Jr., a man who was eventually became a right-wing political kind of analyst and writer, and who was famously absolutely fucking demolished on television by Gore Vidal because they decided to have a TV debate, and William F. Buckley showed up like, oh, yes, I'm having a really wonderful time at this event, and everyone's wrong except me. And Gore Vidal had prepared for weeks and done research and fucking wiped the floor with this guy. It's hilarious to watch. So, yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
There's a documentary about it on like Netflix or something, but it's also a stage play about it. Okay. It's famous because they had 3 debates, and Buckley was like so shell shocked by the third one. He was like, "Holy shit! I actually have to do work. I better research this Gore Vidal guy. Wait, he's related to the Kennedys, and he might be gay. Oh, I'll go after that. Okay. So yeah. But yeah, William F. Buckley is one of these guys who's like never worked a hard day in his life, but claims that he's like a real man, and he's like a super hard Republican. So it's like, yeah. Anyway,
like Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro is exactly who this guy is like. Anyway, back to Errol Flynn and this statutory rape trial. The trial took place in late January and early February 1943. Flynn's attorney, Gerald Giesler, impugned the accuser's characters and morals, of course, and accused them of numerous indiscretions, including affairs with married men. Well, I mean, Errol Flynn is married. And in Satterley's case, an abortion, which was illegal at the time. So literal victim blaming. He noted that the 2 girls who had said they didn't know each other filed their complaints within days of each other. Although the episodes allegedly took place more than a year apart, he implied that the girls had cooperated with the prosecutors in hopes of avoiding prosecution themselves. See, it's nice that you've come up with this theory that it's all a conspiracy, but actually what happened was one girl came forward with the accusation, the police heard about it, and then they were like, oh, this is weird. It's similar to that other complaint we had months ago. Why don't we talk to that person again? And then the police talked to them, and they both decided separately to file. It just so happened that they filed close to each other because the police were talking to them at the same time. So actually, it's not a conspiracy. The police just went to talk to the other person, and eventually they decided to file charges. So
it's a weird thing how like sometimes you can get charged with a crime or because shit happened.
Yes, exactly.
Did something.
I know, Russell Brand.
Anyway.
So Flynn was acquitted because of course he was. It was the 1940s, and oh my god, she had an abortion. Terrible. But the trial's widespread coverage and lurid overtones permanently damaged his carefully cultivated screen image as an idealized romantic leading player who definitely doesn't have syphilis. He continued making movies, but then became less and less successful. And in 1947, he took probably the wisest move he could have made at this time. He signed a 15-year contract with Warner Brothers, which guaranteed him $225,000 per film, which at the time, inflation and all that is around $3.1 million per film in today's money, which is pretty good because he's still churning out like 2-3 films a year. So, you know, you get in $9 and a bit million, but he needed it because at this point, the IRS are chasing him because he's not paying his fucking taxes as well.
God.
I know. And he's on his second marriage, and I don't think he's keeping up with the payments of alimony. So.
Well, hold on, though. What kind of moron signs a 15-year contract with a dude that had a heart attack at 31?
I know. I maybe there's an element of where they're like, okay, you know, we'll look after you. You know, like you're not going to live long. Here's your retirement sort of thing. Like you can still make films with us, and maybe they'll make a bit of money, but you know, you've earned us so much money. Here's a bit of money. You know,
yeah, maybe like, they figured they wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I guess like there's still like a sense that he's kind of bankable, and he might have a comeback. So you might as well keep him under contract. And for all of the criticism Warner Brothers get, and it still continues to this day because they are a shit studio. They are terrible. I'm actually on their side in terms of looking after talent. Where like, okay, you know, you've had a really rough time. I mean, he was a terrible person, but looking after your people who may not be long for this earth and signing them to a 15-year contract, I'm actually on board with that.
I was thinking along the lines of like sports, like sign somebody for a long contract and then you're not even able to use them. But yeah, it makes sense with you know, entertainment and art.
People.
Yeah, but I guess in general too.
Yeah. There's an interesting story I covered years ago when I was doing the wrestling journalism thing, and it's about Eric Bischoff. And Eric Bischoff is a piece of shit. He's a horrible human being, but he actually did something really good. Eddie Guerrero had a massive car accident. He also OD'd in the car, and like doctors thought he wouldn't live through the night. So Eric Bischoff showed up with a 6-year contract with like a $500,000 downside guarantee on the contract, and made him sign him that night so that if he died, his wife would have got the contract and all the merchandise rights and $500,000 a year every year for 6 years. Like, actually, I was like, that's a really classy move. Didn't have to do that. Yeah. So that's your one saving grace, Eric Bischoff. You fucking horrible man. So let's get to the rest of his failing career and focus on the salacious stuff, shall we? Actually, we'll leave his career behind. Fuck his career. Flynn developed a reputation for his womanizing, hard drinking, chain smoking, and for a time in the 40s, or basically for the rest of his life, half of the money probably went on doctors and medications. I mean, yeah, Kimberly, he's like spending a shitload on drugs at this point, and not just the prescription kind. He's also got huge problems with narcotics abuse starting in the 1940s. He was also linked romantically with Lupe Velez, Marlene Dietrich, and Dolores Del Rio, among literally hundreds of others. Carol Lombard is said to have resisted his advances, but invited him to extravagant parties. He was a regular attendee of William Randolph Hearst's equally lavish affairs at Hearst Castle. Yeah, that's Citizen Kane himself. But he was once asked to leave because he was pissed and trying to literally assault a woman in the castle. So he was kicked out.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but he was invited back. just a one-night thing. I know. So on top of that, he got into physical altercations with numerous people. One in particular, John Huston, on the set of The Roots of Heaven. For his behavior, because of his on-set behavior, John Huston gave him shit. He was like, "Fuck you, I'm Errol Flynn." They got into a fist fight, and John Huston knocked him out with one punch.
Ooh,
so yeah, because I like that too. Because there's one person on this planet who's tougher than Errol Flynn. It's John Huston, who is like a fucking insane human being as well. So yeah,
not sure I know. I'm gonna go look up John Huston now too.
You might know his daughter, Angelica.
I do.
Yes.
Okay.
And Sam, who is also quite a famous actor. So you'll know those two. But John Huston did a lot of like Westerns and stuff. And he's also an interesting character. May not have been such a saint himself, but he punched Errol Flynn in the face. So,
you know what? Going back to that cowboy, I rephrased my statement that cowboys are an odd breed. I think cowboys just think that they're so hard that they can beat everybody up. And I think that maybe that cowboy thought that he could have, and that maybe Errol just surprised him.
Yeah. Also, this is a much like Errol Flynn was much younger at that point. Like that was the late 30s.
Pre-heart attack.
Yeah, pre-heart attack, pre 2 or 3 STIs. You know, he's still reasonably athletic at this point, but like this is much later, and his fucking heart is failing him at this point. So John Hughes, he's been punched by John Huston, knocked out. As a result of his drinking, he was banned on most sets from touching alcohol during the entire shoots. So he was known to inject his oranges with vodka to get his fix. So he'd take these oranges and just like needle the vodka in. Just to get his fix.
Wow.
After his death of a heart attack, it was concluded that his liver was in such bad shape that he would have died within a year anyway, because his liver was fucked. That's not good.
He was making nature screwdrivers.
I know, which is crazy. And like, also, I hate to point this out, and we'll get to it in a bit. He had ready access to needles at this point. So, yeah. Another random thing about popular culture. Have you ever heard the phrase "in like Flynn"?
I have.
Yeah.
Never thought about it, though.
It's coined to refer to Errol Flynn and the supreme ease with which he reputedly seduced women. That's what that means.
I may have to rethink my uses of that phrase.
Yeah.
I learn that more and more often. I need to stop saying shit that I say.
I mean, if you don't know the origin of stuff, you can kind of be excused. But in like Flynn is literally like, oh, he's going to fuck that woman. He's in like himself.
Goodness.
Yes. So Flynn was reportedly fond of the expression and later claimed he wanted to call his memoirs "In Like Me." But the publisher insisted on a more lurid title, "My Wicked, Wicked Ways." His title was better, but still, you know, his title was "In Like Me." Like, that's actually, I can kind of, I think that works. Now let's get to the really fucking hard part. Wow, this is like some of the Flynn stuff. You're like, oh, that's kind of cheeky and good natured. Some of it, you're like, oh, that's horrible. This stuff is. Flynn had various mirrors and hiding places constructed in his mansion, including an overhead trapdoor above a guest bedroom for surreptitious viewings. He would come home and there'd be like dozens of people in his house because he had an open door policy, and he would invite people around. He would invite people to this man is patient zero. Yeah, he's the super spreader. He is. All of the modern STIs come from Errol Flynn.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, he invited people around to stay at his house, and like he'd invite the women to stay over, but he was like, "Don't worry, you've got this private room; it's all yours." But he would deliberately like shut all the windows and doors and make the house as hot as possible, so they would sleep like on top of the covers, or maybe in like less clothes, and they would feel safe because he's not in the room, but actually he's behind a fucking mirror with an eye poked through it, and like. Yeah,
that's just creepy.
Fucking horrible creep, this piece of shit. Rolling Stones guitarist Ronnie Wood toured the house as a prospective buyer in the 1970s and reported Errol had two-way mirrors, speaker systems in the ladies' room, not for security, just that he was an A1 voyeur creep. Yes, Ronnie, you are correct.
Man. There's nothing wrong with being a voyeur as long as the people that you're voyeuring are aware and consenting.
Consent is important, especially in voyeurism, but that is
creepy.
Fucking horrible. That's like, that makes Chuck Berry look calm and normal. That's how bad that is. Peeping Tom bingo. Yeah, we're almost at the bingo stage yet, but we aren't quite there. There's still some awful, awful stuff to come. In March 1955, the popular Hollywood gossip magazine Confidential ran a salacious article entitled "The Greatest Show in Town, Errol Flynn, His Two-Way Mirror." They knew it before. Yeah. In her 1966 biography, actress Hedy Lamarr wrote, "Many of the bathrooms have peepholes or ceilings with squares of opaque glass through which you can't see, but someone is looking at all times." I feel gross just reading that.
Yeah. Like, God, you know, I'm not about like shaming anybody for their kinks or anything that they're into, because like, do you, man?
Yeah.
Don't be a creeper.
Consent again, important. And also, he had a Schnauzer dog named Arno, which was I know it's fucking hilarious, which was specially trained to protect him because he was
paranoid. He was getting paranoid at this point.
I was just thinking of a mini schnauzer then, because
that would have been even better. He's trained the dog to protect him. They went together to premieres, parties, restaurants, and clubs until the dog's death in 1941. On June 15th, 1938, during filming, Arno bit Betty Davis on the ankle in a scene where she struck Flynn. Maybe wise your dog up, or don't take it to set that day. You know,
yeah,
you've got
especially
enough.
if you're training it to protect you.
I know. You've got enough women who don't know you're staring at them staying in your house. Let one of them help you look after the dog for a while, and maybe don't stare at them that night. While it was well known that Flynn was a rampant alcoholic, that there was one substance that he was known to ingest over the years, Flynn began experimenting with a series of other substances. You know what I do to keep dogs from humping your leg? I don't know. I don't know where this is going. OG butt stuff.
I don't know if I want to know where it's going.
No, I don't know if I want to know with a name like that. No, we're not going to put that on the podcast. So according to his second wife, he was determined to experience as much as he could, which led him to try opium in the 1940s. That's a slippery slope. Unfortunately, opium would become another addiction that he would struggle with for the rest of his life, alongside morphine and heroin. So, yeah.
So all of those then.
Yeah, all of the downers, all of the needles to inject your oranges with vodka, and yeah, it's fucking horrible. More stuff. Flynn's friend, director Raoul Walsh, claims to have played one of the ultimate pranks on Flynn. The day after the death of John Barrymore, supposedly Walsh bribed the mortician to release the body to him. He then set the body up on a chair holding a drink in Flynn's home. Yeah. He defiled a corpse. Yeah, he defiled a corpse. In his autobiography, My Wicked, Wicked Ways, Flynn notes, as I opened the door, I stared in the face of Barrymore. His eyes were closed. He looked puffed, white, and bloodless. They hadn't embalmed him yet. I let out a delirious scream. My heart pounded. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. Some friend, this guy tried to fucking kill him. Also, John Barrymore was one of his his friend and mentor, which is probably explains some of the alcoholism. But yeah, so they were like, let's get his friend out of embalming and put him in his home. Like that's a horrible thing. Also, this man's already had a heart attack. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, at least they didn't put it on trial.
No, that's true. Even before becoming one of the most famous actors in the world, Flynn was known for his love of women. Well, we've covered that. Which only increased in the more popular he became. According to his close friend David Niven, Flynn's attitude to women perhaps began with his strained relationship with his mother, Meryl, who, from the age of 5, Flynn had witnessed her affairs with other men in front of him.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, there's your trauma. Also, apparently, she used to beat him quite a lot.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, I'm getting there's a real Rorschach thing going on with this guy. Like, he's witnessing his mother have multiple affairs with other men, and then she's like beating him as well. Like, that's starting to see why he's kind of fucked up.
And then she's like, here, have my made up name without the M.
I know. That's really weird. Despite what one biographer claims, this is one thing that we know isn't true.
Okay.
But it's a lie that wasn't made up by Errol Flynn for a change. One of Flynn's biographers, who seems to hate him for some reason, claimed that Flynn was a Nazi spy and had the location of one of his films moved so that he could spy on the American fleet in San Francisco at the time and report back to the Japanese who would send it on and use it and stuff. He's basically, this is the guy. The guy says that he has a bunch of proof. He's like, oh, I've been in contact with this person who worked at MI5 and this person who worked in the CIA, and the FBI ran a trace on him, which is true. The FBI did look into Errol Flynn, but that's because the FBI was looking into everyone at this time because it was J. Edgar Hoover's era, and they didn't find anything on him. They dropped it. And this guy said, oh, but I've got documents released by the Soviets that show that he was a Nazi spy. And they were like, can we see those documents? He's like, no. So,
yeah.
That's kind of a bit suspicious. So I don't think he was a Nazi spy. I think he's just a prick. Didn't help the Flynn kind of had a bunch of friends who were anti-Semitic, like openly anti-Semitic, and published it, and also friends with an actual Nazi. So maybe pick your friends a bit better in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Now, in the last 2 years of Flynn's life, he was involved with yet another scandal. He's 50 years old. Oh, no, 48. He began traveling with a 15-year-old secretary called Beverly Ardland. The underage girl was also Flynn's mistress at the time. The relationship had been unbelievably arranged by Ardland's mother, who would later proudly write a book about her daughter's affair with Flynn. So many horrible people in this story so far.
Well, I just realized that I was laughing at a joke in the comments while you were saying horrible things, but then I caught on to the horrible things, and it's just,
Yeah.
I there it is.
There it is. That's the one. We can publish that one. That one's funny.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. So many horrible people. By 1959, Flynn's financial difficulties and the fact that he hasn't paid tax in fucking ever had become so serious that he flew on the 9th of October to Vancouver, British Columbia, to negotiate the release of his yacht Zaka to lease of his yacht Zaka to the businessman George Caldo. As Caldo was driving Flynn and the then 17-year-old actress Beverly Ardland, who had accompanied him on the trip, to the airport on the 14th of October for a Los Angeles-bound flight, Flynn began complaining of severe pain in his back and legs. That's a problem. Caldo transported him to the residence of a doctor, Grant Gould, who noted that Flynn had considerable difficulty navigating the building's stairway. Could also have been booze. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair, for sure. Gould, assuming the pain was due to a degenerative disc disease and spinal osteoporosis, Jesus Christ, administered 50 milligrams of Demerol intravenously. Ooh.
Wow.
That's not good. Yeah.
Now he's definitely not walking upstairs.
No, that's a lot of Demerol. Holy shit. As Flynn's discomfort diminished, he reminisced at great length about his past experiences to those present. So he's like, here's your reward for stopping me from dying. Let me tell you about all the women I fucked. He refused a drink when offered, and Gould then performed a leg massage in the apartment's bedroom. Hello. And advised Flynn to rest there before resuming his journey. Flynn responded that he felt ever so much better after 20 minutes. Ardland checked on Flynn 20 minutes after that and found him unresponsive. Despite immediate medical treatment from Gould and a swift transfer by ambulance to Vancouver General Hospital, he did not regain consciousness and was pronounced dead that evening. The coroner's report and the death certificate noted that the cause of death was myocardial infarction due to coronary thrombosis and coronary atherosclerosis. Holy shit.
Goodness.
With fatty degeneration of liver and partial cirrhosis of the liver significant enough to be listed as contributing factors. Flynn was survived by both of his parents.
Oh, wow.
That's really bad.
That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second, actually. Flynn was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California, a place he once remarked that he hated.
Oops. Well, there you go.
But
guess it's fitting.
But they buried him with 6 bottles of whiskey. So swings and roundabouts, I guess.
And facing down so the world can kiss his ass.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd think that was enough. But now let's get to Errol Flynn's posthumous controversies. In 1982, an interview with Penthouse magazine, Ronald DeWolf, son of author L. Ron Hubbard, said that his father's friendship with Flynn was so strong that Hubbard's family considered Flynn an adoptive father to DeWolf. He said that Flynn and his father engaged in illegal activities together, including drug smuggling. I can kind of believe that.
Yeah.
And sexual acts with underage girls, but that Flynn never joined Scientology, Hubbard's religion. So, that's Errol Flynn. Let me give you the list here.
Goodness.
Womanizer, tax dodger, alcoholic, drug addict, wife beater, 1930s version of Jeffrey Epstein, possible murderer, Nazi spy, maybe, slave trader, possibly, but almost certainly a piece of shit.
Yep, definitely. Wow.
I mean, talk about bingo cards for awful human beings. I don't think we can get more than that. It's
yeah.
Where do you start with Errol Flynn?
Man, like, I feel like I heard maybe there was some bad stuff.
Yeah, me too. I heard a couple of bits. Like, I think I heard the stuff about drugs and the womanizing and the drinking. I didn't hear half of that shit.
Right. No, yeah, I definitely didn't. And I'm learning more and more and more that I don't know shit about shit. And like, there's so much stuff that I just wasn't paying enough attention to my entire life that like people make references to that I'm just like, huh? Yeah, okay, yeah. And like in like Flynn,
I know.
I assumed it was related to the actor type of thing, but I like womanizing, haha, funny. I guess it's not funny.
No. And actually, it's funny because when I was doing the reel for this before we went on air, I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a song about Errol Flynn. And I typed in like Flynn into the music search bar. There's a band called In Like Flynn. There's about 8 songs called In Like Flynn. There's about 25 songs about Errol Flynn. Most of them like, he liked to fuck women.
I want to say I originally thought it was about Larry Flint from Penthouse.
Yeah.
Or Hustler. What was it? Hustler.
Hustler, yeah.
Yeah. But
that would have made sense. He's a much better person than Errol Flynn. Significantly better person. And that's a guy who was awful as well. So, you know.
May have just landed on somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. God, I don't even know where to score this one because I want to score him really high, just based on number of STIs.
Well, yeah, like 1 point for every STI, and we're already in the 50s. So, you know, but I also think like we have to, some of this, like the Nazi spy thing wasn't true.
Yeah.
That's almost certain. I'm not sure about the murder and the slave trading thing. Like it sounds vaguely true, but Kimberly here, my score is 2023. I will not accept anything less. It's really, really difficult to now score. I don't think he murdered anyone. I think he's just saying that to be like, I was a swashbuckler and a bandit and all of that shit. I don't know if that's true.
Right, but he ridiculously made shit up about himself. And then
I guess like to distract from the other stuff.
Really. He serially went after underagers.
Yeah, and like didn't pay any tax. He had all of the addictions you could possibly have. He didn't look after himself. He ruined other people's lives. And
he beat his wife up.
Yeah, he beat up his wife, threw a random woman down a flight of stairs. This guy was horrible. He was married multiple times. All of his wives were beaten. One of them was 19 years old when he met her, and he was like 40. And he was married to her at the time that he was sleeping with the 15-year-old. So,
yeah, okay.
It's bad. Wait.
I think it's fair to go with a 97 for him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is high.
It's
a lot.
That's a lot of underage, and there's rapey in there, and I don't like that. Yeah. And then also slave trade. That's not good. Yeah, and he told that himself.
Yeah, he boasted about that, and he was very violent. The weird thing is, and I guess a lot of it is, he was just being a man. Like a lot of people liked him. You know, like I just mentioned David Niven, who was like a real gentleman, like a really kind of, he was in that terrible James Bond Casino Royale from the 60s and stuff, but he was like a classic screen gentleman, British kind of sir, very knightly and stuff. But he seems to really like Errol Flynn, seems to think he was a great guy, but actually from what we can tell, he was horrible to a lot of people.
Yeah. So, and to say stuff like, well, he's just being a guy, perhaps maybe we should think about not allowing people like that to be role models for people that are coming up, and have that be that's what a guy is.
Yeah, I feel like from, because also we should point out, this is during the Hays Code. So obviously, like, studios are going to try and protect the reputation of their stars, because the Hays Code meant that you couldn't, like, imply sex on screen, you couldn't show drinking, you couldn't show much violence and all that. And thankfully the 60s came along and destroyed the Hays Code, things like Easy Rider and what was that?
Is there sex in the afterlife?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's that. What was it? A Bonnie
Debbie Does Dallas?
No, well, yeah, that. But Bonnie and Clyde was around the 60s, and that was really violent. And things like MASH, which had the first F word on screen. So the Hays Code destroyed that, but studios at the time were desperate to protect the reputation of their stars as like these wholesome, handsome, athletic people. But actually, Errol Flynn was the exact opposite. And I feel like that sense of trying to protect people in Hollywood and make them out to be better than they were, it kind of continued until very, very recently with the Me Too movement. And now if people are pieces of shit, usually you will find out about it and they won't be able to get away with it for too long. So
yeah, and I think that's kind of a better way to be. Then you don't end up with, somebody like me thinking that Danny Masterson's awesome.
Yeah, Danny, and
it was disappointing as hell.
Yeah, and actually that thing where they wrote like, "Oh, Danny Masterson's a wonderful person." What's it, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. That's weird. I mean, I understand sticking up for your friend, but don't say he was like a perfect human being. Just talk about your interactions with him. I think that's probably the best way to go. Look, nobody's a saint. Nobody is a perfect human being, and we should, people deserve a second chance. Absolutely, they deserve multiple chances, and you shouldn't judge people for their addictions or their problems. But Errol Flynn in this instance seemed to revel in how horrible he was and seemed to do nothing to change his ways, have any kind of empathy towards anyone, and just seemed to be taking advantage of life as much as possible. He even admitted that he didn't care if he lived long.
Yeah.
He just wanted to like do whatever the fuck he wanted forever, basically. So,
and that's what led to my score, is that he was proud of who he was.
He
Absolutely.
was. Yeah. He did not care. So 97, I will take that. And for the media hoaxer, Erwin Abel gets a 1. So we're close to 100 in this episode. So that's kind of amazing. Our lowest score on one of our highest ever scores in this episode. I
think really cool. I may have popped that up there as the highest. I don't remember what Midgley has.
Midgley has 98.
Okay.
So, and New Jack has like 96, 97. Because of
he's definitely higher than New Jack. I know he didn't stab anybody, but
no, he didn't stab. Well, we don't know he didn't stab anyone. He may have stabbed someone he tried to enslave, potentially, but we haven't read his biography, so could be bullshit.
Not going to either.
Let's get to this week's episode. And as you've seen in the thumbnail, which is already drawing a few people in, which is kind of cool, I want to talk this week about one of the most, certainly of the 80s, I think it would be fair to say, one of the most iconic Saturday Night Live comedians and comic actors of the 1980s, John Belushi.
That's a fair assessment.
I would say so. I would say with his back catalogue of work and his influence, I would say John Belushi is probably one of the most influential comedic actors of all time. So
I would agree with that, and I'm super excited to hear this story.
I am. I was having fun researching it, and I've called the piece "John Belushi: What Could Have Been," because I think that's what a lot of people think about that.
Oh yeah.
John Adam Belushi was born to Agnes Dimitri Nee Samaras Belushi and Adam Anastos Belushi in Humboldt Park, Chicago. So he's a Windy City native. Agnes was a pharmacy worker who was born in Iowa to Albanian immigrants from Koreche, Albania. So there's like a kind of second generation immigrants, John Belushi there, I guess. Yeah, so they would have probably come around, given when he was born, probably would have been in the 30s. So, yeah.
Just so before the war, after the Depression.
After the Depression, kind of in the midst of the Depression, really. Also, rise of fascism in Eastern Europe. Probably a good time to get the fuck out of Albania.
That's
really.
fair.
That's I think that's a good idea. Adam Anastos Belushi was an Albanian immigrant. Oh, so he was first generation on his father's side, from Kisteze, Albania. Yeah, Qyteze with the 2 dots over the top. So I'm going to go with Kisteze.
Better than I'd have done.
I'd love to look at what Google says that I should pronounce it as, but I'll take it as that. So his dad, Adam Anastos Belushi, was the owner of the Fair Oaks restaurant on North Avenue in Chicago, which I think is reasonably well known. I don't know. I think Chicago's called the second city because it entirely fucking burnt down. So I think when new places open up, like in the 60s and 70s, they're probably still there now, I'd imagine.
I've only ever been to the airport in Chicago, so I don't know much about it. Other than what I've seen on Shameless.
True, yeah. Or like, Boston. Cheers was Boston, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, that's right. I have been to Chicago. I did the East Coast when I was working out in America and one summer, and I did Chicago. I had a really good time. The 3 big towns I stopped at were New York, Boston, and Chicago. Okay. And I had a lot of fun in Chicago, had a lot of fun in New York. I think I had the best time in terms of fun and prices in Boston because, I'm a ginger Celtic dude. So I was,
there you go.
You had all these Irish bar owners out in the front and they were like, "Where are you from, son?" And I'm like, "I'm from Wales." And they're like, "Come inside. We're going to look after you now." So it's like, so tell me how you hate the English. So yeah, that was basically it. But I had a really good time in Chicago. Really cool people. It was cold as balls, even though it was summertime. I got battered by the wind in that part of the world, but I had a good time. I had a good time in Chicago. Belushi himself was raised in Wheaton, along with his 3 siblings, younger brothers Billy and Jim, who were stuck with. And sister Marion, not John Wayne, not that Marion. He was Eastern Orthodox Christian when he grew up, attending the Albanian Orthodox Church, which I'm guessing that there aren't too many of in Chicago, but there's probably a couple, I'd imagine.
I don't know.
I wonder how that differs from like Greek Orthodox or just Orthodox in general. I wonder if that's...
I'm so unfamiliar with those religions. I don't know how they differ from Christianity in general.
So before there was Martin Luther and Lutheranism, which led to Protestantism and stuff like that, there was another schism which happened with the Orthodox Church and Catholicism. And for a while there were 2 popes. There was an Orthodox pope and a Catholic pope, and then in Catholicism there were 2 popes for a while as well, one in France and one in Rome. That was a kind of a crazy period. But yeah, there was a big schism, and the church didn't ever reunite really, but they kind of sort of accept each other. And now Orthodox Christianity is the main religion in places like Russia and Greece and Albania and places around there, and some parts of Turkey, things like that. So yeah, it reaches the Caucasus. It's an interesting religion. It's more restrained than Catholicism, but it has its own practices as well, and it can look a bit different if you're used to Protestantism or Catholicism. Orthodox Christianity kind of different. So
I got you. Learned some new stuff.
Yes. It's also it's odd. Oh, there we go, Mr. and Mrs. Belushi. Man, he looks like a perfect combination of his parents.
Oh yeah,
you can't say that there's like, oh, he looks like his dad or his mum. I think it's like a perfect combination of the 2 of them.
Kind of. If you mush the top half of his dad and the bottom half of his mom,
you got John Belushi.
Yeah. Boom, got it.
You got an amorphous blend, the perfect blend of genes there. So yeah, John Belushi grew up in an Orthodox, Albanian Orthodox church environment. He was educated at Wheaton Central High School, where he met his future wife, Judith, who sadly passed away this year. But yeah, he stayed with her his entire life. And I just want to point this out because we're going to talk a lot about Belushi's addiction issues. I couldn't find too much stuff out there about him being a womanizer. To what I could tell, he was actually faithful to his wife. From as much as I can find, he was faithful to his wife the entire time they were married and when they were together. And she's a looker right there, right? And there she is in a Blues Brothers shirt. I'm guessing this is the early 80s. So, yeah. That's good for him. He stayed married to her and stayed with her throughout school as well. So childhood sweethearts. That's pretty cool. In 1965, Belushi formed a band, The Ravens, together with 4 fellow high school students, Dick Blasucci, Michael Blasucci, Tony Pavilianis, and Phil Special, who's got the best name out of all of them, to be honest. That must have been kind of insane. I'd imagine a young John Belushi before he found drugs would have still been pretty wild because he was an Orthodox, but he was quite rebellious in school. So I think you got a young picture of a young John Belushi there. He looks very he's a good-looking kid right there. He's a good-looking dude. Yeah, looks stout. Like he would have been like a linebacker or something. Maybe.
See, you're saying that he was a wild guy, but in this picture, I could see him, student council.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a much more handsome version of Nixon to a certain extent. There's a bit of Nixon in that, but yeah, student council, debate team. Probably, putting bags full of shit that are on fire in front of people's houses. All the usual shit, I'd imagine. So they actually recorded one single, this band, in high school. Listen to Me Now / Jolly Green Giant, which, that's an interesting combination of songs. Your B-side is something called Jolly Green Giant. I guess that's kind of I Am the Walrus sort of thing, like that's the B-side. Belushi played drums and sang vocals. Drums works for him. I definitely see him.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a drummer.
He's Keith Moon, isn't he? He's a larger Keith Moon, basically. The record was not successful. Shocker, I know. And the band broke up when he enrolled at the College of DuPage or DuPage, whatever the fuck that is. It's a bit like DuPont, only DuPage. What, have we got a picture of him on the drums there?
I do.
Oh, look at that shit. Man, he looks like Kevin from The Office in that picture. Holy shit.
A little bit.
Jesus. Roxanne. So he also attended the University of Wisconsin at Whitewater for a year. So I don't know if that was like a transfer or maybe like a year in a different university. I know that happens sometimes, but yeah, that inspired his scene in Animal House of D-Day driving a motorcycle up the stairs. I imagine it inspired that probably because he did that shit. I think. No, in John Belushi, that was basically him in it. And here, for anyone wondering, is like his famous scene. We'll get to Animal House in a little bit, but that's an image that people remember about John Belushi. That and a couple of other like him in pictures, but that's one of the clearest ones. Yeah, like the spit all over the people. John Belushi acquired the iconic college crew neck worn by his character in Animal House at a print shop when visiting his brother Jim, who attended Southern Illinois University. So they kind of stayed reasonably close to home there, I'd say. Belushi actually started his own comedy trope in Chicago, the West Compass Trio. So, named after the improvisational cabaret review Compass players who were active from 1955 to 58 in Chicago. So I'd imagine when he was growing up, like his parents, they would have been around. That would have been a big part of the Chicago scene at the time. So he just sort of revived that to a certain extent with Tino Insana and Steve Beshekas. I don't know, improv people. It's a dime a dozen, really. Their success piqued the interest of Bernard Salins. Bernie Salins, the founder of the Second City, who asked Belushi to join the cast. A reasonably well-known name. Like, even I'm familiar with that name.
The Second City?
The Second City people, yeah. So at Second City, Belushi met and began working with, here are some names for you, Harold Ramis, Joe Flaherty, and Brian Doyle Murray, who I think is a very famous producer these days. I don't know if he's an actor as well, maybe.
Bill Murray's brother.
Of course he is. Yeah. There's the fucking thing. And in 1972, Belushi was offered a role together with Chevy Chase and Christopher Guest
fuck me, those are some names.
Yeah.
In National Lampoon Lemmings, a parody of Woodstock, which played off Broadway in 1972. Could you imagine rocking up in 1972 off Broadway and you just like Chevy Chase, Christopher Guest, John Belushi, like they're never going to amount to anything. And then just 6 years later, you're like, holy shit, these are some of the biggest fucking names in the world right now. So,
right.
Christopher Guest as well. Also, random aside, Christopher Guest, now a member of the House of Lords in the UK. Yeah.
What?
Christopher Guest's father was a lord, an actual honest-to-goodness lord, knight. His dynasty is long. So Christopher Guest, I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but Christopher Guest is married to Jamie Lee Curtis in real life.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're still married or if they've divorced or what, but at the time they were married, Jamie Lee Curtis and Christopher Guest. And his father passed away. So he was kind of sworn into the House of Lords. He accepted his lordship nomination. And there was a whole ceremony and a bunch of politicians and people arrived. And Jamie Lee Curtis is there. She's all dressed up. And they finished this long-ass ceremony. And she goes out. She's like, oh, God, I need to pee really badly. And she turns to, she taps this random old dude on the shoulder. And she's like, hey, buddy, where's the ladies? I need to take a wicked piss. And he's like, oh, if you just go down the corridor, it's the third door on the left or whatever. And she's like, yeah, cheers. She comes back to her husband and he's looking terrified. And she's like, the fuck's the matter with you? And he was like, what did you just do to that man? And she's like, I just asked for the bathroom. And he was like, that's Dennis Thatcher. That's Margaret Thatcher's husband. That's the fucking prime minister's husband that you just asked because you were desperate for a piss. And she was like, probably shouldn't have done that, should I? Oh, never mind.
Hey, so you gotta go. You gotta go.
You gotta go. And it was better than doing it in the corner like most of the politicians in the Lords there. So so Christopher Guest, random thing, National Lampoon's guy, famous obviously for Spinal Tap and all of those great films he's made. He's a member of the House of Lords in the UK. It's so fucking random. But yeah, got his start along with John Belushi and Chevy Chase in the National Lampoon's Lemmings off Broadway. Belushi and Jacqueline, his soon-to-be wife, moved to New York City. There, Belushi started working as a writer, director, and the actor for the National Lampoon Radio Hour, a comedy radio show that was created and written by staff from the National Lampoon magazine, which was really successful for a couple of years. Beat out Mad Magazine and all of the competitors. It was, sorry, I'm doing the Donald Trump hands. I apologize for that. So that for a while, the National Lampoon magazine was massive. So that launched a bunch of careers. Cast members on this radio show, produced by Belushi, included Harold Ramis, Flaherty, Christopher Guest, Brian Doyle Murray, his brother, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, and Richard Belzer. Ah, man, there's some big names there. Look at it's spot them all. You can see Chevy Chase on the far right, and Belushi looking like a Wookiee in the middle there. Gilda Radner, obviously, in the middle. I'm trying to spot Brian Doyle Murray. Is that on the far left? Or is
that him on the bottom in the hat?
That might be him, yeah. And Richard Belzer. Maybe in the middle. I can't really tell, actually. They look so different. But, man, what a cast and crew of people. That's fucking crazy.
Pretty rough looking there.
All of them 70s. Pretty rough. This is when they discovered cocaine. Also, I should point out, it's at this moment when they start doing the radio show and because Belushi's, producer and stuff, him and... oh God, I've just dropped his name. I've said it multiple times. Chevy Chase start to drift apart because John Belushi has a bit of control over his characters and producing and stuff like that, and Chevy Chase is a massive prick. So there's a big divide that happens. Also, him and Brian Doyle Murray don't particularly like Chevy Chase at this point. Recognize that he's starting to become a bit of an egomaniac, and that passes on down to Bill Murray, who also starts to dislike Chevy Chase anyway. And that's going to lead to something. In 1974, Belushi and Chevy Chase voice acted on a Lampoon LP record, the official National Lampoon stereo test and demonstration record. What a catchy title that is.
It's a long title.
Yeah. And during a trip to Toronto in 1974, where they're recording a bunch of stuff and performing live, John Belushi meets a young Canadian comic actor named Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Gosh, that name sounds familiar.
That's familiar. I wonder what they could be working on together. Also, around about this time, his wife Jacqueline became an associate producer for the show. So she kind of came into the family business. It's a big success. She's in that sphere as well. So it makes sense to keep his wife at work. I think it kind of kept them productive, kept his mind on track and stuff, and it kept him off some of the shit he was starting to develop a habit for. She and Belushi were married in December 31st, so day before New Year's Eve. Well, that is New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, 1976. So the National Lampoon show toured the country in 1974. It was produced by Ivan Reitman, came on board as a producer for the show. So Lampoon owner Matty Simmons was offered a TV show on NBC at this time, but he declined the offer. Big mistake. Huge.
Which TV show was that?
I wonder what it could turn into. In 1975, the show on NBC was offered out to a bunch of people. Chevy Chase and writer Michael O'Donoghue recommended Belushi to Lorne Michaels as a potential member for this new TV show Michaels was about to produce for NBC, called NBC's Saturday Night, which very quickly became Saturday Night Live. And they dropped the NBC part because who gives a shit? You know, okay, it's NBC, but yeah. And here's your initial, well, not quite initial, no, because Chevy Chase isn't in that picture, and Bill Murray came on afterwards. But here's a very early Saturday Night Live cast lineup. Look how young everyone looks. I mean, they don't look that young because it's the 70s, but you know.
Yeah, everybody seemed like they were just perpetually always in their 30s and 40s, I think.
Even though most of them are in their 20s at this point. They just look twice that age because of drink and drugs. So Michaels was initially undecided, as he was not sure if Belushi's physical comedy would actually fit in with what he was envisioning, but he changed his mind after giving Belushi an audition. He appeared alongside O'Donoghue in Saturday Night Live's first ever sketch, subsequently titled The Wolverines, which aired on October the 11th, 1975, nearly 50 years ago. Damn. And there we go. Yeah, and Chevy Chase on the right.
Cast.
Yeah, there's Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, Chevy Chase. I think, is Gilda Radner in there? I think she is.
I can't remember any of the names.
Oh, here we go.
Belushi, Aykroyd, and Chase.
Yeah. But yeah, they look very young. This is 50 years ago now, almost. Although obviously we're in Saturday Night Live 50, so kind of around about the time they started production would have been 1974. So that makes sense that 74.5 season would be the 50th anniversary. So at this point in time,
about that when we got into Andy Kaufman, because I was saying he was going to come back this year.
That's right. Yeah, he's going to come back for the 50th year. We've still got time. There's still time. And boy, do they need him at this point. Over his 4-year tenure at Saturday Night Live, Belushi developed a series of successful characters, including the belligerent Saturday Night Live samurai, which just chopped the shit out of everything. And I think we've got a picture there, man. I mean, he looks good, but that shit would not fly now.
No,
for sure. No. Also, he did Kissinger, Ludwig von Beethoven, the Greek owner, Pete. I'm going to have to say this carefully. Pete Dionyspoulos of the Olympia Cafe, which I think is the cheeseburger sketch. Yeah. He also did Captain James T. Kirk as one of his many impressions, and a contributor of furious opinion pieces on Weekend Update, during which he coined a catchphrase, "But no," which became like one of his catchphrases. His character, I just want to point out, his characters are amazing. They're like era defining. Some of his characters, the samurai, the Greek restaurant owner,
And even like Beethoven, we'll get to the Beethoven shit in a minute. His Kissinger voice, it wasn't quite right. It was too. I mean, he's coked up at this point, so his Kissinger is too high pitched and too full of. Yeah, because he's coked up and he's too full of energy. Whereas Kissinger was much slower and he was down here and he had a very deep voice and it was designed to get people to listen to what he was saying. So, yeah, and man, look at him with a full head of hair there as well. That looks like a wig. Holy shit. Yeah. Also, he's sitting next to John Belushi. Chevy Chase at this point is sitting next to John Belushi. They could not stand each other very, very quickly. Also, mainly, there's Dan Aykroyd as well. There's him as Kissinger. He looks like Kissinger. Like, it is the makeup. Yeah, he nailed it. And he didn't get as much tail as Kissinger, that's for sure. With Aykroyd, Belushi created Jake and Elwood, the Blues Brothers. Originally entirely intended to just warm up the studio audience before broadcasts on Saturday Night Live. The Blues Brothers were eventually featured as musical guests, which
I'm such a fan.
That is, even though it came out in 1980, so right at the start of the 80s, I feel like the Blues Brothers are one of those that the film and that act kind of are part of the tapestry of the 80s for me, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that movie. I wasn't a fan necessarily of the remake with John Goodman, but it wasn't.
Oh, no, it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not great. I mean, I'm glad they cut out the scene where they roll up to John Belushi's grave and piss on it. You know, that was unnecessary. No, I'm joking. That didn't happen. But no, it's not great. It's not terrible. Like it's just like the previous film is held in such high regard. It's one of those films that kind of transcend, and we'll talk about the numbers in a bit. It made a shitload of money, but it's one of those films that sort of transcended the genre to become an 80s classic. I feel like that is on par with, like, in terms of musical numbers, it's up there with like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which has gone on to have a huge cult following because of the musical numbers and the silliness of the film and the just zaniness of it all. It kind of reaches that level of camp and craziness that the Rocky Horror Picture Show did as well. So those two, like, they have like repeat screenings and they attract a very specific group of hardcore fans. And yeah, I think those two are on par with each other when it comes to like a legacy of people going back to watch them again and again.
I can see that.
Rocky Horror in particular, like there are some films that, particularly musical films, like The Sound of Music and shit, Mamma Mia, like, people have like it gets shown time and time again. What was it, Pink Flamingos? Like, people go back and watch these films time and time again, you know, over and over again, and they just, it has that fervent following. So and also the Blues Brothers being musical acts, I can't think, other than maybe Adam Sandler, of like cast members being also musical acts at the same time that they're on the show. I can't think of too many other people.
Sandberg's trying to do it.
Sandberg, yeah. Yeah, and I could see that working. Andy Sandberg, very talented man. Probably people don't give him the credit for.
Yeah, because he did the Lonely Island stuff.
Yeah, the Lonely Island stuff is era defining as well. As the Blues Brothers on in the early part of the show. Interestingly, Andre Braugher, before he passed away, who played the sergeant in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or the captain, he actually credited Andy Samberg with giving him comic timing, because he was a serious actor, stage actor, had done a bunch of dramas. He was like, I had no timing for comedy, and I spent a few weeks with Andy Samberg and he gave me a full education. And this is like a serious Oscar nominated actor who's like, without Andy Samberg I'd have been screwed. And you know, he's on that show for years and years. So
that's
kind of amazing
tidbit.
And also a really interesting thing that SNL seems to produce these like multi-hyphenate, super talented actors, comedians, directors, producers. And as Chris Rock said when he went back, some of the worst movies ever made have been made by people in this studio. I think that was for like SNL 25 or something. It was, yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, because they made a bunch of shit films. But yeah, they've produced some of the greatest names in Hollywood comedy acting history, for sure. So moving on though. So Belushi also reprised his Lemmings impression of Joe Cocker for SNL because he does a mean Joe Cocker, and he's got the right voice to do the singing of Joe Cocker as well. His impression, Cocker himself actually joined Belushi live on stage in 1976 to sing "Feeling All Right" together, and they did like side by side Joe Cocker impressions. Yeah, there you go. Like. They've even got the same shirt on, which is kind of amazing.
Like you were being made fun of if somebody was doing an impression of you while you were doing your song.
I mean, this happens a lot on SNL. Jennifer Aniston did, like she was like talking to someone who was doing an impression of her. I think John Malkovich did that with Bill Hader. Like, I do not sound like that. You sound exactly like this, and it's like it was really funny. But so John Belushi's Joe Cocker impression was apparently so good that Sir Paul McCartney himself paid him $6,000 to perform as Joe Cocker at his birthday party one year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And like $6,000 back in the 70s. Like, I know they're national TV and stuff. That's a decent like amount of money for one night's work back then.
Yeah.
It's still good now. Like, pay me $6,000. I'll hang around with you for the night, you know? So, like many other Saturday Night Live cast members and writers, Belushi had health issues, which were... Okay, I'm going to put this. No one in their 20s is having health issues unless they're doing the kind of drugs these people were doing at the time. It is recreational cocaine use that maybe only the Rolling Stones and Aerosmith combined could keep up with. You know, even Ozzy Osbourne would be like, no, I'm done. I'm done for the night, guys. That's too much.
out drugging Ozzy.
Yeah, out drugging rock stars. It was really, really crazy. And people who visited the sets were like kind of shocked by the level of cocaine use that they saw on Saturday Night Live. And we got another classic John Belushi moment from Animal House, which to me is just a waste of food. But yeah, that's the kind of shit that Belushi was doing. And he was the first, like, I mean, people had done physical comedy before, you know. Dick Van Dyke kind of introduced physical comedy to television audiences back in the like 50s, I guess. But the level of physicality that Belushi brought was like almost violent to a certain extent and frantic. It wasn't coordinated, balletic, kind of clever, funny pratfalls and stuff. This is just like him throwing himself at shit.
Right.
You know? So he was kind of the first like punk physical comedian, really, of that era. Speaking of which,
way to look at it.
Yeah, he was very punk, and also he spent a lot of time when he wasn't performing and writing and producing. He basically hung out with his wife at concerts. They were constant, frequent guests behind the scenes backstage for Fleetwood Mac, Meatloaf, Kiss, the Dead Boys, Warren Zevon, the Grateful Dead, and the Allman Brothers. And if you ever want to get a gateway into drugs, hang around with all those people. You're basically never off drugs. At that point, like every hard drug you can find, there's smatterings of those acts. In 1990, Lorne Michaels remembered him as a loyal trooper to writers, a team player, but he was fired and rehired at Saturday Night Live due to his inability to control himself when he got high, because he just went batshit crazy, basically. Rolling Stone in February 2015, in their appraisal of all 141 at the time Saturday Night Live cast members, Belushi received top ranking, number one of all time Saturday Night Live cast members, according to Rolling Stone. I might not put him quite so high, but probably top 15, maybe.
I think he that high because of his early demise.
I think so. And I think probably the same would go for Chris Farley, who had, for me, I mean, maybe it's the era I'm watching it from, but he probably had a bigger impact at the time he had on the show. But I understand why they put him so high. It's the first cast member. He went on to have huge success in films, and it's sort of a what could have been situation with Belushi.
Yes.
But yes, Belushi was the live in Saturday Night Live, Rolling Stone wrote, the one who made the show happen on the edge. Nobody embodied the highs and lows of Saturday Night Live quite like John Belushi, and that's accurate. I think that's fair to say. He is the spark that drove the early success of Saturday Night Live. They had a bunch of different elements in there. You had a bunch of brilliant performances by Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was the breakout star of the early Saturday Night Live years, but the driving chaotic force of SNL in the early years was John Belushi, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, yeah, I don't think it would have been the same without that chaos.
Oh, no.
It's almost like that's kind of the recipe for Saturday Night Live, is that big man chaos person, and it's not the same when they don't have that guy.
Also, if you've got to remember, around about this time, we are talking about punk becoming a force in popular culture in the mid to late 70s. And also, you have shock jocks becoming a thing around about this time. It's that air of unpredictability. Like, I'm watching primetime television or I'm listening to primetime radio. This person could do anything. So I have to watch it, even though it's in a scripted format and, you've got cue cards and stuff. And I think that's still, although not anywhere near as much because it's very much watered down, but that element of this is live and this person is dangerous is kind of still there with Saturday Night Live. Like, what is this person going to say or do? I feel like the last time that happened was when they had, who's the comedian who had the show? We've covered him a bunch of times with, oh God, he did the impression of Prince, and oh crap, I'm drawing a blank. Rick James.
Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle appeared on SNL as a breakfast cereal character who was getting laid off along with a bunch of other people, and there's Count Chocula next to him, which is Pete Davidson, and he basically goes off script and he's like, seriously, America, look at Pete Davidson's lips. And Pete Davidson's just like, because he's not supposed to say that. He's Count Chocula in this scene. So he's like, don't even know what race you are. And that just like, at that point, I think Lorne Michaels was losing his mind, because that's not supposed to happen. But that's kind of the last time that really happened on SNL. But that energy's still sort of there.
That's why that show's awesome.
Exactly. I'll always have a place in my heart for Saturday Night Live, because the potential for chaos and people breaking. I think another really good recent one was the Beavis and Butthead thing with with Ryan Gosling as he's like, who is this person Butthead? I've never heard of him before. And then the actors couldn't stop breaking because they looked exactly like them in real life. It was amazing. All except Kenan Thompson didn't break. That was amazing. That guy is unmovable.
He's a beast. That guy
is a pro.
Yes.
He's been doing this his entire life. So yeah.
He's impressive.
Yeah. He didn't even break when Cosby was being weird around him. That's how like good and professional Kenan Thompson is. Like he did a radio interview years before the Cosby Show came out, and he was like, Bill Cosby's a pervert. And he was describing a story where Bill Cosby was being super pervy around him. And he was just like, I just no-sold it. Just got on with my day and just ignored him because that's what you wanted. But anyway, back to SNL. In 1978, John Belushi performs in the films The Old Boyfriends, directed by Joan Tewksbury. Sorry, that's the British town. I should be getting that right. And Going South, directed by Jack Nicholson.
Really?
Yeah, that Jack Nicholson. Yeah. So he's already doing a Jack Nicholson film. And National Lampoon's Animal House. Hooray. There we go. Directed by John Landis. So 1978, big breakout year for John Belushi. Oh, wow. That's a hell of a picture. Right? Look at the fucking plate he's carrying. Oh, my God. Yes. I want that tray of food. That looks awesome.
Animal House.
2 apples. And there's the shirt with college written on it. It's amazing. I fucking love that. So the film Animal House which is National Lampoon's, obviously. Upon its initial release, Animal House received generally mixed reviews from critics, but Time magazine in particular and Roger Ebert proclaimed it as one of the year's best movies, not just best comedies, best movies. That's a really important distinction. Yeah, they saw, because it was so different, people like, what the fuck is this? And it's very National Lampoons when you look back at it. But there was really nothing else like it had ever been done. How vulgar and weird and raunchy it was had never been attempted. But Roger Ebert knew it was special, and so did Time magazine, who at the time had quite a young staff. So they were quite on the edge of pop culture and stuff. The film cost $2.8 million, which sounds, I mean, it is nothing. But at the time, that's a fair budget for a small company, National Lampoon. That's basically all of their money. They basically mortgaged the house to make this film.
I was going to say, that sounds like a lot for back then, man.
That's a lot for 1978. $2.8 million, $13 million in 2024 money. So that's obviously small indie money, but like if you saw an indie film these days that had a $13 million budget, you'd be like, okay, that's probably like Kevin Smith, like a big name indie guy, or like Gus Van Sant or something like that, you know, like a big name independent filmmaker. However, 2.8 million, the gamble was worth it, because it is, by percentage, one of the most profitable movies of all time.
Okay.
To this day, that's how successful Animal House was, garnering an estimated gross of more than $141 million in the form of theatrical rentals and home video. This is 1978. It made $141 million. And also not including merchandise. Merchandise on top of that, shirts, posters, books, all of that shit pushes it up to $200 million.
Wow.
So, yeah. That's just shy of $700 million in 2024 money. And that's before the merchandise. The merchandise numbers push it even higher, closer to $1 billion. So
that's crazy for
$13 million.
College.
Yeah. For a fuck around joke fest about college, it made basically nearly $1 billion on the back of $13 million of budget. The only way you're getting close to that in this day and age is if you make a low budget horror movie. And even then, low budget horror movies ain't making $1 billion. They're making a good profit, but they're not making $1 billion, you know?
Yeah, like if you're talking like Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity sort of.
Yeah, like once in a generation sort of low budget horror hit. And I mean, we're talking like that's Barbie Oppenheimer numbers right there. Yeah, that's fucking Marvel would be happy with $1 billion right now from a movie. That's how successful we're talking. So that basically funded the rest of National Lampoon's existence. Didn't matter what they do at that point. Didn't matter how much money they lost, which they didn't on the films. They generally made profit on all of their films. They could have lost money until today and they'd still be in business, but they had other overheads like cocaine. So Animal House was written by Doug Kenny, Harold Ramis, and Chris Miller, and followed in the traditional of the Marx Brothers films that featured subversive and satirical plots that took on traditional institutions. So it's punching up, essentially, which, I mean, it's the late 70s, early 80s. We're about 15 years removed from the Hays Code at this point. You know, Bonnie and Clyde, Easy Rider, those were like early to mid 60s. So we're kind of a generation away from the Hays Code at this point. People are starting to take more risks. MASH, which is 1970, I think, another kind of risque film. First film to ever use the F word is MASH. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. First time it was ever uttered on in cinema. And it's a scene in football where the guy's playing in position. He goes, "All right, buddy, your fucking head is coming right off." First time the F word was used in the film. Yeah.
No, I learned some new shit.
I know. I was surprised when I found that out myself, but that's true. So yeah, it was very subversive and very much a new thing, which is probably why it was such a success. There'd never been anything like this, even though it followed in the tradition of the Marx Brothers, who were very subversive themselves. Hollywood studios immediately took notice of this success and tried to copy the film's success without the satire and without the cast of intelligent, very talented comedic actors, resulting in a string of nerds versus jocks films. So like Porky's, you know, that
Revenge of the
sort
Nerds?
of, yeah, Revenge of the Nerds, where it's like, I mean, they're fine. You can watch them. They're not super funny, but they're kind of cute and of their era, you know. It's fine. It's kind of like what happened after Star Wars and Aliens. You know, like you had a million fucking knockoffs, basically, you know. And the same thing happened with Animal House. It just spawned a bunch of cheap knockoffs made by Hollywood studios who would be like, here you go, here's $20 million, bring us 60 million back, sort of thing, you know, because that's what they could count on. Quick return.
Yeah, it's superhero movies at the time.
Exactly.
The thing that worked.
Yeah, and like westerns are dying off at this point, and like sci-fi is starting to come through, but not everyone wants to watch sci-fi. So you have a stupid, gross out comedy thing, you know.
When is that coming back? That should come back now, and we get rid of the superhero movies and have gross out, stupid comedy movies.
Yeah, give it 5 years. Okay. When Disney lose interest and they just signed Ryan Reynolds to a contract where they just plug him into a machine and just download his brain, and we'll just have a bunch of those Harold and Kumar movies, really, because those were the last ones I think we really had those stupid, and maybe like Super Troopers,
American Pie movies.
American Pie, yeah, that kind of went on for a while.
They tried to do the National Lampoon thing.
They did, yeah, they did okay. They were terrible after a while, but you know, at the time I enjoyed the first one. The South Park film was another version of the National Lampoon's formula. That was amazing. I could have done with a sequel of that, but you know, we got the what was it, the Stick of Truth or whatever it was, the computer game instead. So Hollywood Studios producing cheap knockoffs of this. It's and I was just saying, you know, you can go back and watch those films, which is fine. The only version that actually holds up to this day is Animal House. So go back and watch National Lampoon's Animal House. It's the only one that is still funny, really. The rest of them, it's like, oh yeah, this is an 80s film about jocks versus nerds. Okay, I'll watch it for 2 hours. You know, following the success of the Blues Brothers on Saturday Night Live, Belushi and Aykroyd, with the help of pianist arranger Paul Schaefer, or Schaffer?
Yeah, Paul Schaefer.
He's Schaefer.
On Letterman.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's the main guy. Assembled studio talent forming a proper band. Saturday Night Live's saxophonist Blue Lou Marini and trombonist saxophonist Tom Malone, who had previously played in Blood, Sweat and Tears, were also part of the band.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that. At Schaefer's suggestion, guitarist Steve Cropper and bassist Donald Duck Dunn, the powerhouse combo from Booker T and the MGs, were brought on board. Yeah.
Okay.
Who played on dozens. Yeah. Sound familiar?
It's a hell of a band coming together.
It really is, isn't it? Along with like the power and influence of Belushi and Aykroyd. That's, yeah. And Lorne Michaels is obviously there producing everything, and he's like shit hot at this point. He can do no wrong. These two guys had played in dozens of hits from Memphis's Stack Records during the 1960s, were also signed as well. And in 1978, the Blues Brothers released their debut album, Briefcase Full of Blues, with Atlantic Records. The album reached #1 on the Billboard Top 200 and went fucking double platinum.
Nice.
Jesus. And just like,
good music too.
Good, solid, original music. And people had a real, obviously they've been primed because this is an existing IP, the Blues Brothers. Yet Saturday Night Live is hot at this point. You've got a bunch of very talented musicians around you. This was almost as close as you could get to a guaranteed hit at this point in time. In the space of 6 years, John Belushi has gone from doing local comedy stuff with his own troupe to being the biggest multi-hyphenate star on the planet. He's a 2-time platinum musician. He's been in the biggest comedy hit of the last 15 years. He can do no wrong at this point. He is a huge star, and it's something we don't see too much these days. And you've got a copy of the LP. There it is. And typically, again, blue vinyl. Really smart. I bet the original print of that goes for some good money now.
I bet. That would be fun to have.
Yeah, that would be good
collection.
to Yeah, need to start that vinyl collection of mine. So 2 singles were released, including Rubber Biscuit, which reached number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Soul Man, a cover, which reached number 14 on the Hot 100. In 1979, Belushi, along with Aykroyd, left Saturday Night Live. They had just too many offers at this point and were starting their own things. And Aykroyd had already started writing Ghostbusters at this point, and it was the most insane, nonsensical garbage. If you read the original Ghostbusters or hear about the original premise, it is nothing like what we got.
Really?
So, it is all dimension hopping and occult crap, and is because Dan Aykroyd is fucking obsessed with the occult.
That's his spectrum.
That's his fucking jam. Like, you sit down next to him in a cafe, that's all he will talk about, and then tell you to fuck off as well.
I found out like that he's on the spectrum. Dan Aykroyd is, which is amazing to learn.
I would suspect a lot of people at the time on Saturday Night Live, right the way up until very recently, would probably have been on the spectrum and they just weren't diagnosed. Chris Farley certainly comes to mind as someone who was probably on the spectrum. I would imagine even someone like Adam Sandler might potentially
I could see that.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, that would make sense why he was so obsessed with that and then wrote it that way. And
yeah, because it was a hyperfixation. So he kind of got into it at a very young age, and it became a huge part of his personality. So that makes sense.
So was it Harold that fixed it?
I think so. I think it was Harold Ramis. And possibly because obviously Bill Murray came in late on, but I think he kind of improv'd a lot. So they kind of rebuilt a lot of the film around the fact that they were going to be going off script. But yeah, Harold Ramis was definitely the person who structured a lot of that. In 1979, Belushi, I've just mentioned Belushi along with Aykroyd, left Saturday Night Live. They filmed the Blues Brothers movie, which conflicted with the schedule of Saturday Night Live, and that was the main driving force behind them leaving. Michaels also decided to leave at the end of his contract, so Lorne Michaels was gone from Saturday Night Live, and this started the dark period in SNL's history, which didn't last long because NBC were like, okay, we're going to fire a bunch of people and bring Lorne Michaels back in. How much money does he want? He wants all the money, right? Drive a truck up to his house and give him all of the money. So, and we got an artist rendition of something that we'll get to in a little bit as well. What was originally going to happen on Ghostbusters? Yeah, I think that's AI, but that was a thing. Anyway, Michaels decides to leave at the end of his Saturday Night Live contract. NBC's pressure to use recurring characters was also a factor in their decision. Belushi and Aykroyd made 2 movies together after leaving. Neighbors, which was directed by John Avildsen, and obviously Blues Brothers, directed by John Landis. Released in the US on June 20th, 1980, the Blues Brothers received generally negative reviews, which may have actually harmed it a little bit when you compare it to Animal House, but it was still a fucking massive success. It had a huge budget for the time, of $27.5 million, equivalent to $133 million in today's money for a comedy. That's,
just crushing it.
Ain't too many big comedic actors today that could produce a comedy with that kind of budget. Maybe Will Ferrell and maybe Ryan Reynolds would be the only 2 I could think of that could get a comedy budget like that together. Yeah. I think Deadpool counts potentially, but I don't think Deadpool even had a budget of 133. It may have done, but yeah, the first 2 had very low budgets. It earned Blues Brothers earned just under $5 million in its opening weekend, but went on to gross $115.2 million in theaters worldwide before it was released on home video, which is around $560 million in 2024 money. So again, made 5 times its budget back. And then it came out on home video, and every fucking dad in the world bought that home video and made their kids watch it. So and opened their eyes to soul music and swear words. So it made as much money on home rentals as it did in the cinema. So again, it's another $1 billion movie this one, which is crazy.
It was totally worth the investment and crushing it, winning. There you go.
It's one of those films, and I guess it's because the reason they left Saturday Night Live is because NBC was pressuring them to do recurring characters. I just wonder if Aykroyd and Belushi just didn't want to make a sequel because they would have been like, well, what stories do we have left to tell with these characters? You know, like Jake and Elwood get out of prison, whatever it might be. You know, like it's done at that point, essentially. But the critics got that one wrong badly, and it made a shitload of money, and it's considered one of the best films of the decade by some critics now with hindsight. The Blues Brothers band toured to promote the film, which led to a third album and second live album made in America, recorded at the Universal Amphitheater in 1980, which was completely sold out. They had to turn people away at the doors. There were people climbing over the fucking fences trying to get in. It was crazy. The track Who's Making Love peaked at number 39. So the singles didn't do well, but the albums always sold.
Well,
so, yeah.
As long as something's selling.
Yeah, at least something's doing well. And by 1981, Belushi had become a fan and advocate of several punk bands, particularly the punk band Fear, after seeing them perform in several after-hours New York City bars, and brought them to Cherokee Studios to record songs for the soundtrack of Neighbors, which is the other film he did with Dan Aykroyd at the time, which no one's heard of because Blues Brothers. Wait, what's this other one? Ah, fuck it.
Neighbors, is that the one where they were digging holes in the yard next door?
No, I think that's because that's the one with Tom Hanks. Maybe is that it, or am I thinking of a different film? And it might be.
I'm probably thinking of something completely different.
I don't know if I've ever seen that film. I haven't seen a lot of John Belushi films, to be honest. But then again, there wasn't much time for him to make a lot of films. So
true.
I've seen the big ones. I've seen Animal House and Blues Brothers, but I can't think of too many others that he's been in, really, that I've seen. Anyway, Blues Brothers band member Tom Scott, along with producing partner and Cherokee owner Bruce Robb, initially helped with the session, but later pulled out due to conflicts with an insane, coked-up Belushi who was smashing stuff in every recording session. He was out of control by 1981. The sessions were eventually produced by Cropper. The producers of Neighbors refused to use the song in the movie because it's just noise and shit. And Belushi loved this band, though. And along with O'Donoghue and Saturday Night Live writer Nelson Loyal, managed to book Fear to play Saturday Night Live's Halloween broadcast on October the 31st, 1981. The band's appearance included a group of slam dancers. Among them were John Belushi, Ian MacKaye of Minor Threat, and Fugazi, Tesco V of the Meatmen, Harley Flanagan, and John Joseph of the Cro-Mags, and John Brannon of Negative Approach. A bunch of particularly Minor Threat. That's the biggest name in there. Bunch of super early proto-punk bands there. Yeah. And they brought in to cause chaos. And that's exactly what happened. The show's director originally wanted to prevent the dancers from participating, so Belushi offered to be in the episode if the dancers were allowed to stay. The end result was the shortening of Fear's appearance on TV. Fear played I Don't Care About You and Beef Bologna, New York's All Right If You Like Saxophones, and started to play Let's Have a War when the NBC telecast was cut short and faded to commercial. There's the opening of it. I urge you to go on YouTube and type in Saturday Night Live Fear performance, because it's one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life. And you only get a snippet of what's happening because they destroyed that set. The slam dancers and everyone. They went fucking bananas.
Went wild, crazy.
Wild. Yeah. Have we got some video?
A little bit of it. I don't have the video.
But yeah, that's what's happening. That's a still of what's happening. And there are people running on stage, throwing themselves off, kicking the equipment. They ended Beef Bologna by saying it's great to be in New Jersey, which which drew massive boos from the New York live audience. The slam dancers left ripe pumpkin remains on the set. Cameras, a piano, and other property was damaged. They were peeing in stuff. They were breaking things. And after their SNL appearance, it resulted in $20,000 in damage to the set and studio, which is that's that's early 80s money. That's a lot of money. After all the publicity around it, some clubs chose not to hire the band because they didn't want to have to pay 20 grand. The New York Post published an account of these and other sensationalist details of the event the following day, although I don't think they were sensationalized. I think that's just footage.
Yeah.
It's just a retelling of what happened because it was pretty fucking crazy.
Sensationalized? You mean the story?
You mean a retelling of what happened? I do remember. So there was a show in the UK much later in the 90s called The Word on Channel 4. Channel 4 was brand new at this time, and they had a bunch of controversial programs that were designed to get people's attention. One of the most famous ones was Eurotrash, which was on like 10 p.m. and just had a bunch of like stories about sexuality, but also included like just straight up porn at 10 p.m. But the other controversial show was The Word, which was like a youth magazine program with music and live performances and comedy stuff. And I Do Anything to Be on The Word included this guy making out with a pensioner and stuff like that. But there were two particularly famous performances on there. The first one was Nirvana when they were very unknown. And the first thing, they were just going into Smells Like Teen Spirit, and Kurt Cobain, before the song kicks in, just goes, Courtney Love is the best fuck in the world. And then the song kicks in. This is live at like 10 o'clock. And the second one was an all-female punk band. And during the performance, one of the female, I think it was the bassist, just took a shit on stage.
Oh.
Live television. Yeah.
Full Gigi Allen.
Full Gigi Allen, yeah. And they were fined literally a shitload of money for that. So as controversial as this SNL performance was, it's nothing compared to some of the shit that's happened on TV. I think you got another picture there of.
It probably would have been less consequential if he would have just kept hanging out with Willie.
Willie Nelson, yeah, he'd have just been staying on the weed. I mean, Willie has got he's got a roach right there.
Yeah,
like that's what that is.
Yeah,
and also someone's wearing like a fingerless glove in the foreground. I don't know who the fuck that is, but
he's hanging out with bikers and Willie.
Yeah, and just enjoying some of the stuff that Willie Nelson is notorious for. Willie Nelson is he still alive, or did he pass away recently? He's
still alive, as far as I know.
Weed pays off long-term health.
Good for you.
Yeah, apparently.
Allegedly.
So up until his death, Belushi was pursuing other movie projects, including an ABSCAM, abscam, all caps, related caper, Moon Over Miami, to be directed by Louis Malle, and a diamond smuggling caper called Noble Rot with Jay Sandrich, based on a script he adapted and rewrote with former Saturday Night Live writer Don Novello. So he was working on a bunch of stuff. However, Paramount Studios offered to produce Noble Rot only if Belushi starred in The Joy of Sex, which would have featured him in a diaper. So he's starting to have to make compromises at this point. I don't think he's a fan of that. Like, yeah, really? You're trying to humiliate me? Okay. Aykroyd advised him to turn down The Joy of Sex and return to the East Coast, where Aykroyd was writing Ghostbusters, and wanted him to play the lead of Dr. Peter Venkman, which was later recast to Bill Murray after Belushi died. And there you go.
What could have been here?
It could have been. And I've got to be honest, if he'd have done Ghostbusters, he'd have been set for life. His career would have been made at that point. Not that it wasn't already, but, you know.
I don't know. I like Bill Murray the best.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Murray is amazing as Dr. Peter Venkman, but I feel like if Aykroyd had been able to control Belushi long enough to keep him on the straight and narrow, that could have been a pretty amazing performance. But Bill Murray is perfect in that role, even though he was essentially second choice. Belushi also talked about producing a film in a High Times tribute article from 1982. Belushi wanted to give these daring captains courageous of consciousness the credit they deserved. He told me he wanted to star in a major marijuana movie to be called Kingpin. He wanted to play the title role. So Belushi's real life leaking into his work there. Belushi made a guest appearance on an episode of the television series Police Squad in 1982. Each opening of the show featured a running gag that featured the guest star dying immediately. So that was Police Squad. They're like, and guest star of the week is this person, and then they get shot. So Belushi died shortly before the episode was to air. So yeah, so they decided to cut the scene and replace it with a segment featuring William Conrad, where he gets shot instead. So yeah, you got to keep the gag going, guys. You can't just stop. But yeah, they edited that out. So now let's get to the thing that kind of okay. I just want to point out that, you know, again, we're at that kick in the show where we talk about, are they idiots? Are they great? Where do they fall on that kind of dividing line? I think John Belushi definitely is up there with greatest, certainly in terms of his influence and his achievements, but we're about to get to the stuff that kind of qualifies him as the idiot portion. And it's not quite as long, but there's a lot to cover with John Belushi and his habits. Belushi had health issues in the early to mid 70s due to his drug use, basically from the time he started doing comedy. He found cocaine and never stopped right up until he died. It was frequently used by the cast and writers of SNL, but Belushi use quickly got out of control, and he was occasionally thrown off the Saturday Night Live set. And as we've covered before, he was also fired a couple of times from the show and rehired when he said that he was clean, which never happened, unfortunately. During a sketch where this is amazing, and I'm kind of stunned that this is a thing that happened. During a sketch where Belushi played Beethoven, the famous composer snorts something and immediately transforms into Ray Charles, starts playing upbeat soul and blues music. According to former SNL head writer Michael O'Donoghue, the coke in the scene was real, and Belushi had no problem indulging himself live on air. The dude did coke on national television live, and his boss, Lorne Michaels, knew fully well that it was cocaine and was fine with it.
It's entertainment.
It's the 70s, you know? You can do anything in the 70s, that dirty, stinking decade. It's also believed that Belushi was first introduced to coke while performing in National Lampoon's Lemming Show. By the time he was appearing on Saturday Night Live, he had a full-blown habit. It wasn't just like, over the weekend or when we go out clubbing, it's like, I need to wake up now. I need to do cocaine. Coke and other drugs have since become associated with the first few sessions of the show. And Al Franken remembered many on the show thought you can't do a 90-minute live comedy show week after week without doing cocaine, which is kind of amazing when you think about someone like, who's that low pace American comedian? I can't remember his name now. He did a stand-up show called I Have a Pony. It's going to drive me mad. I've got a bunch of his stuff. He's just super low energy, and the low energy comes from the fact that he has terrible stage fright. But there's an example of someone who definitely didn't need to do cocaine.
Stephen Wright.
Yes, Stephen Wright.
Yeah,
Honestly, one of the best comedians I have ever heard in my life. Some of his jokes are absolutely brilliant. I can't even think a lot of them off the top of my head, but they are amazing.
His just deadpanness is the bestest.
Complete deadpan all the way through. And he would do 2-hour shows, no drugs. So
he's the radio DJ on Reservoir Dogs, right?
Yeah, and you get him on the soundtrack as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Calling in like this. And just honestly, some of the best. His shows, I Have a Pony and I Still Have a Pony, are two of the best stand-up specials I've ever heard. He's like, my building allows pets. I have a pony, and as he said, they threw me out of the cinema because I wouldn't pay for their food. I said, I'm not paying that kind of money for popcorn. That's scandalous. And also, I've started this barbecue now, and I haven't had barbecue in a long time. So he's It's just like really, really deadpan and brilliant jokes, but he never needed cocaine. And a lot of comedians, before and after, never needed drugs. I think it's just an excuse.
Yeah,
to do blow.
It's I think a coping mechanism to get around trauma or some other thing to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Al Franken. I forgot that he was part of Saturday Night Live and the whole cocaine thing, because he was also a United States senator.
That's right. He was quite moral, as I remember as well. And he'd have been in that scene. So kind of crazy days on Saturday Night Live.
Weird world.
It is a weird world, isn't it? Although other members of SNL's cast and crew were known to indulge after experiments with mescaline, amphetamines, peyote, and LSD, coke remained Belushi's favorite. Oh, I tried all that. Not quite my taste. I want to destroy my septum.
Yeah.
And it became a large part of his lifestyle. Allegedly, he enjoyed playing a game called Cocaine Chicken, which entailed a long line of cocaine being snorted at each end by two contestants. Whoever reached the middle first won, and it was usually Belushi. That's fucking terrifying. Yeah.
Just sniff towards each other, huh?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I just, like, if you're doing it so much that it's now become a party piece, that's a serious problem. Belushi's fans were very important to him. Like, he was very close to his fans, almost too close, a bit like John Lennon. And he wore himself out trying to maintain their approval. After Animal House made him a movie star, Belushi sometimes went out of his way to get a reaction from people who recognized him in the street, so he'd do something stupid like fall over or swear or whatever it was. While driving with Dan Aykroyd, Belushi asked him to stop the car in front of a primary school. He then got out, knocked on the first floor windows, and smiled as a group of children chanted Bluto at him while he did like an impromptu performance. That's kind of cool. Like, yeah, that's wholesome. He's probably coked up, but that's nice. I'm glad he did that. That's kind of cool.
Memories for children.
Those kids will never forget the moment when an insane man who might have been John Belushi banged on their window and did a performance for them.
That's the way they tell that story too.
Yeah, there was a guy that looked a lot like John Belushi who was probably on drugs, and he was throwing himself around, but we thought it was hilarious. Unfortunately, many of Belushi's fans were also enablers. He took drugs partly in order to keep up his manic public persona. Since his fans grew to expect this, Belushi's drug use grew worse. I don't know, maybe it's like he's using it as a reason to do drugs. He's like, well, they expect me to be this person, and I need cocaine to be that person. So
I think that I can see him feeding. It's like a vicious cycle. He feeds off the energy, and then that's what he needs is their approval to feel okay about himself. And then if he, like I think I was talking about before, is I think about people all the time and I want to text them, but then, how do you keep everybody happy all the time?
Yeah. And
cocaine.
Cocaine is the answer. If you need to text people. No, we're joking. Yes. It seemed everyone wanted to be his friend or party with him. And this is the craziest part. Even police officers became personal chauffeurs for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Driving him around Chicago while filming The Blues Brothers. And he was doing coke in the back of police cars. Not under arrest. He was being chauffeured around by cops who were like, there's John and his blow. So Penny Marshall remembered, I swear you'd walk down the street with him and people would hand him drugs. And then he'd just do... Yeah. And he'd do them all. Be the kind of character he played in sketches for Animal House. That's such a bad situation to be in, because they could be handing him anything. And he'd just stick it up his nose. So
God,
dangerous.
could you imagine doing that? Yeah,
they could have
handed
him.
Instantly died today.
Oh yeah, like God knows what would be in the stuff today. Like, ugh. By 1982, John Belushi's drug-fueled lifestyle was so out of control, it was beginning to worry his friends and family, who kind of just sort of thought he's indestructible, he'll live forever. But yeah, he was brought to California from New York to work on the script for Noble Rock, but was having trouble writing. While waiting for the script, the studio was paying for his food, transportation, and hotel room in addition to providing him a $2,500 weekly allowance. Since all of his living expenses and, room service was being paid for, Belushi chose to spend all of that money on cocaine every week, $2,500 in the early 80s. That's Pablo Escobar levels of cocaine at that point.
So he's hanging out with Rick James.
He's in a hotel room, everything's paid for, and he's just doing cocaine and writing. And guess what the script was like?
A mess.
As the script fell behind schedule, you've got to spend time doing cocaine. He used more and more of it to get back to work, basically staying up for days at a time, writing and writing and writing. I feel like this is a sketch that has been done in like Always Sunny or something, where they think they're writing genius stuff, but actually that it's just complete garbage and nonsense. The writing he churned out was unfunny, disorganized, and had obviously been written under the influence of drugs, probably because there's like traces of cocaine on the paper at this point, like smudged in with the ink. Like the ink is now grey at this point. It's a mixture of black and white substances. Although Belushi's excesses were now actively hindering his creativity, he believed he could not function professionally or personally without doing cocaine. Former Eagles player Joe Walsh struggled with substance dependency throughout his early career, and sometimes found himself partying with his good friend John Belushi. When he came over, you pretty much cancelled your plans for the next 24 hours. Joe Walsh said. Damn. So, yeah. Oh, man. The drugs in this picture. I mean, we've got Keith Richards holding a bottle of beer, James Brown in the middle, and then John Belushi off to one side. There is every drug in the world flowing through these three men's systems right now in this picture.
That's
PCP. Yeah, that's a party normal human beings aren't surviving. With these three, no one's coming out of there alive. On one occasion, Joe Walsh and John Belushi were partying in a hotel room and stayed up for a couple of weeks that night, is what Joe Walsh said. High and possibly drunk, the two wandered into the penthouse suite and decided they liked the room's art, but they didn't like the wallpaper. This isn't good. Yeah, after taking the art off the walls very carefully and delicately, Walsh and Belushi tore all the wallpaper down and rehung the art. Unfortunately, the suite turned out to be the hotel owner's personal apartment, and he wasn't thrilled about the $23,000 worth of damage that they'd just caused to the walls.
Jeez.
How much cocaine do you have to be to go, I like that Caravaggio, I like that Matisse. This wallpaper is awful. We're going to tear it down. Like, that's very distinctive cocaine,
That makes you want to like redecorate.
Yeah, that's like, this person has good taste in art, but this wall is garish. Let's get rid of the paper.
Is the paste and the like nasty shit under the paper better than the wallpaper?
Maybe they use cocaine combined with like fluids to rehang new wallpaper. They're like, this is going to be much better. Yeah, this will work. Man,
gross.
That's why you've got to do your own due diligence before you go on an insane bender. You've got to be like, right, what could we possibly do if we do so much cocaine that we go insane? Oh, yeah, we're going to rip wallpaper down. Okay. John Belushi's coke use reached new heights while filming The Blues Brothers, but he wasn't the only one partaking. Dan Aykroyd recalled, we had a budget in the movie for coke for night shoots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was budgeted. No wonder it cost $27 million. There's $7 million on coke right there. So this isn't just these two. This is so the crew could stay awake, so that they would film through the night. So everyone's doing coke. The 80s, man. No one seemed to enjoy this more than Belushi, but his near constant intoxication caused him to wander off the set constantly. This is why he had a police escort, because they'd like, can we go and corral the random Belushi that's wandering around town? After he went missing one night, Aykroyd noticed a house with its light still on at like 3 a.m. and knocked on the door. The homeowner quickly realized he was looking for Belushi and admitted the star had come in, helped himself to what was in the fridge, and passed out on the couch.
It's right before he passed out right here.
It's pretty much it. Yeah, if that person hasn't done cocaine, then they've made some terrible life choices in that picture. Like, really. Aykroyd woke up Belushi and they nonchalantly returned to work, and Belushi was given the nickname America's Guest because he would just walk into people's houses high off his...
Yeah.
Insane. Robert Downey Jr. did something similar once and ended up in prison for that shit. So
he did.
He did. He woke up in some kid's random bed. He just fucking crawled in through the window and gone to sleep. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi bonded over music and comedy and soon became very good friends. Although Aykroyd was the more punctual and respectful of the two, they soon got in their share of trouble together. While filming the Blues Brothers, I kind of can't believe this one either. They stole 2 Nazi SS officer uniforms from the wardrobe department and wore them while driving down the highway in Chicago.
Why?
Nazis. Funny. You know? It's the 80s. It was different back then. You could dress up as a Nazi and people wouldn't be like, is there a Trump rally in town?
It was, I guess, shock value at the time.
Yeah, it's like that was edgy comedy back then. Whereas, like, you know, there were still people alive who would, like, still having flashbacks of those fucking uniforms, you know? Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there's still veterans who are like, I'm fucking 60 years old, you arsehole. I still remember that like it was yesterday. Aykroyd also recalls the story of the time they almost stole a boat for its engine. After a drinking and smoking binge, Aykroyd decided a boat he had would be better off with a motor. Without even thinking about it, Belushi offered to help him steal an engine. Oh my God, another insane John Belushi face. I feel like this is just normal everyday stuff for him at this point, wearing goggles and dressing up like a fighter pilot. It was 2 a.m. and there was a cop driving around, but he managed to cut the marina fence open with a bolt cutter. It turned out that the trailer hitch didn't fit Aykroyd's car, but it was the thought that counted. He did it for friendship. It was a matter of, you may be crazy, but you're my friend, Aykroyd remembered. So they would just do anything for each other, which is sweet. Friends steal things for friends. Belushi struggled throughout his career to get a hold on his life and kick his substance dependency. He even went so far as to hire a bodyguard to keep him away from the things that would eventually take his life. So he hired a bodyguard to physically restrain him from buying cocaine.
Wow.
I think rehab might be easier, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just keep leaving rehab, and then you got to hire a bodyguard to keep you in rehab.
Yeah,
and another one to keep you away from cocaine in the rehab, because you know there's cocaine in the rehab.
Yeah, and I mean, he's doing coke in the back of police cars at this point, so a bodyguard is pretty much the final solution at this point. You know, there's no other way of stopping him, apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
while working on there is one way. While working in Hollywood on the script in 1982, Belushi met up with Carly Smith. This is where things get really dark. A former singer from the band that's the band's name is The Band.
The Band?
Band.
Yeah.
Carly Smith, former singer from The Band turned drug dealer. Although Belushi was said to prefer coke, it's believed Smith shot him up with heroin several times during a night together. They turned his hotel room at the Chateau Marmont, notorious hotel in Beverly Hills, into a party. And both Robin Williams and Robert De Niro stopped by at separate times to share some of the white powder. At this point in time, neither of them liked Smith nor the situation, and Robin Williams has been very explicit about feeling like something bad was going to happen, and he basically had a mini panic attack and ran away. And Robert De Niro was like, I've done my coke, I'm done now. I'm going to go over to Marty's house and do some more, and decided not to stick around. They left. The next morning, Belushi's bodyguard / personal trainer found him dead in his bed. The coroner discovered that he had overdosed on a speedball. For those of you that don't know, is a mixture of heroin and cocaine, that's not a combination you should be putting in your body. You shouldn't really be putting any of that shit in your body, but it is what it is.
Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, okay? Don't put your body through an upper and a downer at the same time. That's just going to fuck with everything. After admitting she had given him the fatal dose, Smith went to prison for manslaughter. She didn't go there immediately, though. She kind of went on the run. for a little bit. She served 15 months in prison in California Institution for Women between December 1986 and March 1988. She was deported to Canada after her release and moved to Toronto, where she worked as a legal secretary and spoke to teenagers about the use and dangers of drugs. So that's a nice turnaround for her, actually. We're glad that happened.
Yeah.
Good for you, Kathy. That's really good. During the first Saturday Night Live episode following Belushi's death, with host Robert Urich and musical guest Mink DeVille airing live on the 20th of March 1982, cast member Brian Doyle Murray gave a tribute to him. During the pre-production of Ghostbusters, Reitman remarked that Slimer bore a resemblance to Belushi's character Bluto from Animal House. Since then, Slimer has been described as the ghost of John Belushi by Aykroyd in many interviews. And if you look at it, it's strikingly similar. It is really much so. It's just like a kind of a cartoon version of Belushi, basically.
He made his way in the film.
He absolutely did, and I'm glad he did. Now, even more sad stuff. Chris Farley, who was heavily influenced by Belushi, also died in 1997 at the age of 33, the same age Belushi was when he OD'd, due to a drug overdose, which has fueled many comparisons between Belushi and Farley, not least because they have very similar comedic styles. It's like mirror images of each other, only Farley was a bit bigger, basically.
Super similar.
Very similar, very sad, and two people that could have had really interesting careers had they gone on, particularly Belushi. I feel like he was very talented. And there's, for those that are watching, there's John Belushi's funeral and Dan Aykroyd standing very morose next to his grave, next to his coffin even. Saturday Night Live cast member, this is a bit weird though, Saturday Night Live cast member Jane Curtin, who appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2011, stated that Belushi was a misogynist who would deliberately sabotage the work of female writers and comics while working on the show. So you get to a table read, and if a woman writer had written a piece for John, he would not read it in his full voice. He felt as though it was his duty to sabotage pieces written by women. However, that's a bit out of left field, that. Didn't really see that coming. And there are a couple of other people that have said Belushi wasn't the nicest person to women. However, Saturday Night Live writer Ann Beats suggested that because she was writing a book with his wife at the time, Belushi was frustrated with them spending more time on the book than with him. He complained to Michaels about Betts and Rosie Schuster. Judith said that Belushi was a women's libber and did not hate women. His wife was specific about the fact that he was actually very caring and very nice with her, always looked after his family, and actually quite a nice man. I think it was just that it's Saturday Night Live, people are difficult. They've got egos.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is to do with that, and possibly the drugs.
Sometimes people should just consider that maybe it's not women that he hates. Maybe it's just that woman or that person.
That person. Yeah. I mean, he hated Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And to the point where him and Brian Doyle Murray had been in Bill Murray's ear. So when Chevy Chase came back as a guest on Saturday Night Live, Bill Murray said something about Chevy Chase. They were being nasty to each other. Bill Murray said something about Chevy Chase's marriage, and Chevy Chase said something about Bill Murray having the face of the moon because it was so pockmarked, and they got into a physical fight.
Oh, wow.
They beat the shit out of each other, and Bill Murray won. And they went out and performed. Chevy Chase under a lot of makeup because he had a black eye. Years later, they made up. But Chevy Chase, to this day, believes that a lot of that is down to the fact that John Belushi hated him and had gotten in Bill Murray's ear and basically poisoned him against him. And they never made up. Chevy Chase and John Belushi, they did not like each other until John Belushi passed away. Chevy Chase has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, to the point where even like fucking Donald Glover, like Childish Gambino, had to put up with racial abuse from Chevy Chase on the set of Community.
Really?
Dan Harmon, the creator of the show, had screaming matches with Chevy Chase on the set of Community. Obviously, Dan Harmon's gone on to do Rick and Morty. And Joel McHale, got into physical fights with Chevy Chase because Chase was being racist towards Donald Glover and being horrible to the women on that show. So Joel McHale beat the shit out of him. So Chevy Chase does not learn.
So, yeah, wow.
Yeah. The only person that can stand him to this day is Dan Aykroyd, basically. But that's because Dan Aykroyd seems to love everyone that he's worked with. So,
yeah.
Which is,
Maybe he's just nice and won't tell people that he doesn't like them.
Yeah, he's just very Canadian, so, bless him. Anyway, in 2004, Belushi was posthumously inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame with a motion picture star located at 6355 Hollywood Boulevard. And in 2015, Belushi was ranked by Rolling Stone, as we said earlier, as the greatest Saturday Night Live cast member of all time. And that's the story of John Belushi, a man who died of a massive speedball overdose at the age of 33, who would have probably gone on to be one of the biggest actors of the 80s had he not died so young, and just a real force to be reckoned with. So what do you make of the story of John Belushi?
This is a tough one.
Really tough.
In my opinion, because I want to score him high because he died young with so much talent and so much left to give, and it bums me out. Same way as like Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman was one of those things where if we just had another 15 years of him and then maybe he retires because he was quite shy, I feel like some of the work we would have had out of them would have been incredible. And the same thing with Belushi here. I actually think he could have gone on to do serious work. I think he had the potential, the darkness in him to do drama, I feel. So
there's the possibility, I think, with that sort of humor and that kind of comedian to go like Jim Carrey, where you have the realization and the correction that you don't need to use the crutch of cocaine and need to get the love and attention from everybody all the time, and you're like, oh, okay, but then eventually you just disappear like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's
but you're not dead.
It's true. Carrey's disappeared into thin air now, and good for him. He's made that decision himself. No, I feel like it's one of the, and we'll always be faced with these situations with celebrities that died young. Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, all of these people that would have been huge stars had they stuck around for a long time. Even someone like Robin Williams, who wasn't what you would say young when he died, but certainly had a lot of life left in him. It's just one of those things where what could have happened. And to be honest with me, the main thing with John Belushi is I really hope he would have found peace eventually, because he had all of the things in place. You look at a lot of people who are addicts, and we've covered some on this list, like someone like Rick James. They had crazy, chaotic lives without very much structure or support, whereas John Belushi had a lot. He had a good family, his mother and father and the brothers and sisters. They all loved him. There was no issues within the family there. He had a loving wife who'd been with him basically his entire adult life. He had a bunch of friends who really supported him and really loved him. So I feel like if he'd just gone to rehab that one time, he'd have had enough support structures around him before and after he came out of rehab to have really made a different approach to life. I mean, he would have taken a long time probably to adjust the way he approached his work, but I think he would have been successful eventually.
I think you're right. And that's why I think I'm going to go with a 90 for him. I feel like a 90 is good because he was great and he left us wanting more.
That's so true. And that's the real tragedy. And somebody said that, I can't remember who it was that said that romance is unfulfilled potential in relationships. And I feel that the same thing is true about us desperately wanting more of John Belushi, of Chris Farley, of all of these musicians and actors who have died so young, like James Dean and people like this. The potential for greatness is there. And we as fans and as audience people who have seen greatness in other people that have had similar careers, or as audiences see the possibilities of future roles, we can see the potential there, but it's just left unfulfilled. However, we do have this incredible legacy of John Belushi, these two iconic film performances, this really great the legacy of Saturday Night Live, of him being one of the early pillars of the program. It is an incredible legacy to leave behind. So I'm really pleased we have that. I just wish we had a little bit more. So, yeah, I will happily take 90 for John Belushi. Incredibly funny human being, and who leaves a generally positive legacy other than his addiction to drugs. And I think the lesson here is, again, Belushi didn't have people around him who had the force to get together and tell him no. It's an open secret that he was on drugs. I mean, everyone is talking about it in this story. So if you know someone in your life who is struggling with maybe an addiction or a behavior that is destructive, don't be afraid to talk to them about it. They maybe do want to talk about it. They just don't know how to verbalize it themselves. They may be reluctant to talk about it. They may get angry with you for talking about it. But if you're careful with how you approach them, if you approach them in the right ways, with the right support and, long-term planning and stuff like that, there is the potential that you could save lives.
I'd go so far as to say is if somebody was struggling with it themselves, and worried that they're going to lose their edge creatively or comedically or whatever, just look at John Mulaney and Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Great examples. Ray Charles.
Use your support network. You could still be funny and awesome when you're clean and good.
Yeah. I mean, Ray Charles did heroin in large part because he thought he couldn't be creative without heroin. And when he came off, he did some of his best work. So, and some people have done an incredible amount of drugs, come off it, and been hugely successful human beings as a result of it. I think the greatest example at the moment is Robert Downey Jr. That guy went to court and he told the judge that being addicted to drugs was like you had a loaded gun in your mouth and you loved the taste of lead, was how he described it. Yeah. And that guy is now clean. He's done great work since he got clean. He's super talented. He's also one of the nicest people in Hollywood right now. Just everyone has positive things to say about him. He's become a real mentor to people. And that's the kind of example you can have. There is an edge where people think they can't get any worse. But honestly, the light is not too far away. If you focus on the right things and just keep trying to improve every single day, eventually you will find that you will make a positive change in the world that you want to do. And don't ever lose sight of that. So that's our show for this week. Our next episode is episode 100, which will feature one of the biggest names we will ever cover, and also hopefully a light-hearted one from Derek, because I'm going to cover something slightly intense.
I think maybe I'll talk about beer.
Maybe beer, something fun, something nice. But yeah, also, if you would like to support us financially and become one of our patrons and get a gift for joining us for the first time, and also an annual gift if you stay with us every year, and behind the scenes exclusive recordings and scripts from the actual show and footage from our lives away from social media, you can go to patreon.com/historysgreatestidiots and get access to all of that. Also, we are on Instagram at History's Greatest Idiots. Go there and follow us on there. And all of our videos are available on YouTube at History's Greatest Idiots, and also on Spotify if you want to go and watch the videos on there. We are also earning a little bit of ad revenue from that. So if you want to keep going, that'd be really helpful to us. Go on Spotify. We like it when you do that. That's our show for this week. Derek. So until next time, Derek, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
And we'll see you all again for episode 100 very soon. Take care now. Bye.